What is going on, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 64th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined once again by my good pal, the man with the millie, Rand al Thor 19. How you doing on this fine Saturday, Rand? Oh no, the technical difficulties aren't done, Rand, because people can't hear you now. Yeah, hold on. It's just one of those days, y'all. Limp Biscuit style output device. USB audio device. All right, Rand, talk for the lovely people here.
Can they hear me now, Miles? Is everything good?
Okay, we're good.
Okay,
everyone clap.
Thank God.
It has been...
This has been an ordeal, Miles. You're like, are you having a good day? And I'm like, well, I got to do your show, and and then I got to go do my taxes, so I'm already having a bad day. And then I get in here, and Miles is usually prompt. 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Starts the thing. We're rolling, and then he's like, and then I can see this concern on his face. He's like, he's confused. It's like, NVIDIA driver updates. And yeah, it was this whole thing. But Miles is here bringing top quality content to the Windows Central Gaming channel. Chaturdays. I'm excited to be here. What is this, my fourth time or something? I got a cool new avatar from the one and only Sean LaBrie finally.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. I normally reserve the avatars for the people who get on camera, but I figured we got to give you something here. I put your avatar here. I made you a nice little background that really represents you as an individual. But yes,
look at that Pokemon.
Yeah, you love
my favorite gaming franchise, right?
Love it. So everyone who's tuning in live, thanks so much for bearing with us. I made the mistake of updating Windows last night. That was my main downfall. As I decided, you know what? It's been a week or two since this update went live. Let me try it. And then had to reinstall all of my drivers. And it's been a whole ordeal. So thank you for bearing with us. We have an amazing show lined up. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about Halo Infinite Season 2, certain Affinity's relationship with 343 Industries. We're going to be talking about the roller coaster of emotions involving Kojima. We're going to be talking about a host of community desires, from more JRPGs to a new dashboard to a new achievement system.
Don't lie, Miles. That's your desire.
It's hey, I'm just in tune with the community, Rand. Yeah. Okay, I have a lot of people on my side here regarding JRPGs, but we'll get all into that. And then towards the end of the show, we are going to talk about our predictions for Summer Game Fest, because we're getting close, Rand. We're like a month and a half away ish from a lot of the biggest game reveals of the year.
I prefer the Summer Games Mess by Jeff Grubb, and not the Summer Games Fest by Jeff Keighley. So.
Shout out to the Grubster, Mr. Grub Snacks himself, Jeff Grubb. Rand, but before we get into all of that, I'm sure everyone here already knows, but give them a breakdown of who you are and where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know who I am, I'm Mr. Rand al Thor 19, the man with the million. Make Xbox-related content on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RandalThor19. Haven't released any videos recently, but I will be soon. Because I was a little burnt out, Miles. You kind of go through some of those phases, and you're just not excited about stuff, so I kind of took a step back. But we kept on doing the Xbox 2 podcast with Jez, because I love podcasting with my buddy Jez. So it's unfortunate he was not here today, because we were originally planning an Xbox 3-way.
Yeah, that's right. The original plan was to get you and Jez on for the infamous Xbox 3 crossover, Xbox Chaturdays cross Xbox 2, the biggest gaming crossover of all time, but Jez has to hang out with his family or something.
Yeah. He's like, it's like Easter. I'm like, Easter's on Sunday, and he's like, I got brunch or something. I'm like, oh yeah, sure you do.
Oh yeah, I got brunch. Oh yeah, that sounds like a hard set plan. I gotta do brunch.
Brunch at 5 p.m. in Germany. Okay.
So everyone give Jez some grief on Twitter for killing what would have been the greatest crossover of all time. But Excited to have you on, Rand. Again, we fought through some technical difficulties, so let's get into it. We've kept the people waiting long enough. New content is coming to Halo Infinite
About
after
time, huh?
after months and months of skepticism, criticism, complaints. We're starting to get a look at what the future of Halo Infinite is going to be and what the
Death
rollout.
threats, hatred.
It's
Yeah.
been ugly. It's been an ugly roller coaster. Again, because the launch of Halo Infinite, so positive, so glowing. Everyone was so excited about Halo. Everyone's like, Halo's back, baby. Halo's the king. And then we go 2 months later and it was like, yo, 343 needs to be shut down. I'm like, wow, what happened here? What is going on? But we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel here. My biggest complaint regarding Season 1 of Halo Infinite was the lack of maps. I was baffled that we went 6 months without a single new map added to the game. And I was hopeful that with the future seasons, we'd get 1 to 2 new maps per season as a way to kind of keep players coming back. And we got confirmation this week that 2 maps are coming day 1. We're going to get 2 sexy brand new maps which they gave us a kind of glimpse of. And those are Catalyst and Breaker. Catalyst being the arena map with the light bridge in the center, and then Breaker being this big sprawling map with, if you've played the campaign, that big laser drill. That is an environmental hazard that is in this map. So I gotta say, from what we've seen of those 2 new maps, they both look really cool. I'm really excited to dive in and check them out. But how are you feeling? Are 2 new maps, is that enough to get you amped up for Season 2?
Not really, to be honest with you. Not really. I sort of got my fill of the game already. Look, maybe my gaming tastes have changed, but I'm a BR kind of guy these days. You know what I mean, Miles? That's what
You're
my
a
crew likes to
BR.
play.
You're in the
Yeah,
Fortnite?
yeah.
You're thick in the Fortnite then, or
No,
what?
no, my crew. We finally decided to play Fortnite because of the no build mode, and it still wasn't very good. But I'm happy for my Halo peeps that are getting new content because it's been a long time, 6 months in this live service era. That feels like forever for people, especially for people that have maxed out the battle pass and done all, played so much where they basically can see the maps, when they fall asleep. Like they just dream about those same maps they've been playing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So 1 new map, arena, right? 1 new map,
Yep.
big team battle.
Yep.
They seem like they're good maps. I wonder how people are going to take it's interesting though, Miles, because every single I'll get on social media, look at the forums, and it's like Halo Infinite has less players than Master Chief Collection. It's dead, and it's like, yeah, but that's Steam numbers. Like, I understand people use it because you can actually see the numbers, but like, no one ever brings up the Xbox side of things, where Halo's, doing okay. It's like number 8, number 9, right in there, right? So it's doing pretty good. Maybe not as good as it should be doing with a free to play model. And it's definitely, I don't think, doing as well as it should be on PC. But I think I think they can turn it around.
I agree. I don't think it's again, a lot of the pessimism right now comes from the fact that the rollout for a games as a service title hasn't been strong. Regardless of how you feel about the launch content, because the launch content of the game is fantastic. All of the maps that they've shipped with, even though I have some that I like a lot more than others, all of them are really good. All of them are unique. All of them have a great place in it. The suite of modes was tight. Everything was polished. It was just very, very slim. And then they went an entire season without any meaningful updates. Sure, there were the events to get cosmetics, but for a lot of core players, the cosmetics aren't really the biggest driver of engagement. Sure, you look cool, you want to look cool, but when you're playing the same small pool of maps over and over and over and over, it doesn't really matter if you have cat ears or you look like a samurai. You're just kind of you're sick of what's there, and that's where a lot of this is coming from. And that's why a lot of people are pessimistic about the future, is because they have shown that even with an extended season 1, they weren't able to deliver, and that's got people questioning the future.
Yeah, people are always gonna question stuff until things get better. But I mean, I think people will jump back on it to see what the maps are, to see what the battle pass is like, if there's any other changes to some of those things. I'm personally not a fan of the battle pass and the challenges stuff. I don't know why they just don't do it like every other game where it's just straight XP. Like you're an XP in the game, but it doesn't count towards anything. Like, why am I earning XP that doesn't count towards anything? Like, there's something missing here, isn't there?
They've
Right?
touched on the fact that there will be an overall progression. I don't think they've said it's coming for sure in season 2, but they did address the fact that they understand people are upset there isn't an overarching progression system outside of the battle pass. So it sounds like something like that is coming, and I totally agree. That would add more kind of meaningful value to every single session, because most games, even if they have a battle pass, usually there is some sort of player progression outside of that that earns you rewards or earns you cosmetics, gives you something to look forward to. And again, the challenge only battle passes are some of my least favorite things in modern video gaming. I really can't stand when a game has progression tied exclusively to daily and weekly challenges, because it fundamentally changes the way you engage with the game. If you have to use a certain gun, or you have to, like, I play a lot of MOBAs, and a lot of them are like, well, you have to play as this specific character or this specific class or use this specific item. People say, you know what? I don't even care what the objective is. I am getting these challenges done. All right. I want to get my rewards, and if I actually play to win, I don't get anything, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to chase these challenges. So it kind of messes with the balance of the game. And so I've complained about this in the past, and I'm hoping that gets tweaked a little bit. And they've done the stuff like just play a match, but I'm hoping there is like just play a match and just win a match. Those are things that always give you progress every single time moving forward.
Yeah. But you know what's more interesting, Miles?
What?
Are those sweet, sweet, juicy rumors about
Oh,
potential future content
you're right.
potentially coming to Halo Infinite that I think a lot of people would be interested in, right?
Yeah, let's talk about it, because there's been a burning debate since before Halo Infinite even launched, and does Halo Infinite need a battle royale? We have Call of Duty getting in space. We have Fortnite. We have PUBG. We have Apex Legends. We have all of these humongous battle royale games, and they've proven that people love the formula. People will engage with the formula if you give them new content. And with Halo kind of coming back into the forefront and basically trying to compete with these games, people are saying, hey, what are you going to do, Halo? What are you going to do to have that big multiplayer mode? And I will be honest, big team battle, it just doesn't cut it anymore. It's not big enough. It's not epic enough. And so people are like, what are you doing, Halo? Where are you going to enter the space? And that's where rumors of Project Tatanka come in, Rand. And that is a supposedly Certain Affinity has been working on a battle royale-ish mode for Halo Infinite.
Well,
And
Certain Affinity tweeted out this week that they're deepening their relationship
yes, they're
with
taking
Halo, taking it to the next level. Everybody,
yeah.
before they were kind of going steady. Maybe they they got to first base or whatever. But now, now they're kind of maybe Halo slipped
Deepening
on the
that
ring.
commitment.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering. So a lot of people, again, there's been rumors of Certain Affinity working on game modes for a little while. Even before we knew about Project Tatanka proper, there have been rumors that Certain Affinity has been working on something, a new game mode. And so, for context, Project Tatanka, a lot of people have deduced that Tatanka is a Native American wrestler from the 90s, and this particular wrestler famously won a 40-man battle royale wrestling match. And so a lot of people are looking at that code name, looking at the possibilities for Halo Infinite Battle Royale, and going, that's a weird coincidence that this particular code name is from a wrestler who won a battle royale match. So Rand, I'll just ask you, do you want a battle royale in Halo Infinite? Is that going to get you more excited?
Yes, 100% yes. I mean, you're talking about someone who put like 900 hours into PUBG, 200 to 300 hours in Warzone, 100 hours in Apex Legends. Like, my crew is all about battle royales, right? So I've always felt Halo had a good foundation for the battle royale genre. Like, because I always think, like, man, how cool would it be if, like, you do a Spartan ODST drop and you can control where you drop with the pods and stuff, and they got the large map, you got the vehicles. I think it would breathe new life into the game, because I know there's a debate a lot of OG Halo fans, they don't want it, right? They're like, get
Mhm.
that BR of our game. But, this isn't 2007 anymore. Like, gaming is kind of change, and games need to change along with it and put things that are what people want in their experience. And like Halo Infinite did a great thing with catering to the OG fans, because 343 has always been in this position of between a rock and a hard place. Like, you can't change Halo too much
Yep.
because the OG fans will complain, right? And because you want to get new like people to play, because that's what's going to keep the franchise going. Because at some point these OG fans, they're going to age out, right? But you can't put sprinting in, you can't clamber, you can't, like jet, like any one of these things that they try to do to make it more modern. People just complain, right?
Yep.
And a lot of Halo fans didn't want battle royale. Like, we don't need battle royale, even though it's like the biggest thing in the world, right? You look at the top most played games on Xbox, over on Steam, presumably PlayStation. It's all, Apex, it's Fortnite, it's Warzone, it's all these free to play battle royales, and that is what is popular. So for Halo Infinite to launch sort of years after the ascent of this mode and not include it, I did feel eh, wasn't really the best, because you're essentially, if you're a big multiplayer shooter at this stage, and not including battle royale is like not including deathmatch, like back in the day. Like, that's sort of what's expected. And even though, like, 343 said the only BR we care about is the battle rifle, I was just like, cut it out. You got a 10-year plan. I always figured at some point they would do a BR mode. Maybe not necessarily at launch, but according to our good buddy Jess Corden, your coworker, my co-host, he had some things to say about it yesterday in the Xbox 2 podcast, where he pretty much came out and said, yeah, it's a BR mode. It's been in development for 2 years over at Certain Affinity. The stated goal of the mode is to bring new people to the Halo franchise, kind of go after that Apex, Fortnite, Warzone audience, and that he was told that it might launch around season 3 or 4 or something like that, right? Personally, I think if I'm looking at when to launch a BR mode, assuming it's done, right? Because 6 months from the first season to second season is a long time, and like, well,
Mhm.
maybe not everything's lined up properly, but I would say that'd be a good time to drop a BR mode on the year anniversary of the game's
Yeah.
release. Like, here you go,
Yeah.
here's this new mode. That, what would that be, like end of season 4, beginning of season 5, or whatever?
Mhm.
I think that would revitalize the numbers. I think you'd see people be playing it. Uh, Maybe not necessarily numbers of what it was on the PC at launch, but maybe because everybody's going to play it again. You can basically soft launch a reboot of the game again, because presumably co-op's going to be there, right? And Forge, which is also, I think it's maybe even some of the problems that people have with the Halo stuff right now is that there's no Forge. Because at least you could have the community making maps in the meantime and modes to keep people, you know, occupied, I guess. But that's coming in season 3. So yeah, I wanna I want a Halo battle royale. I'm selfish. I think it's what Halo needs. I think that's what people expect these days. If you don't have one, then they don't care. So I'm sorry, OG Halo fans. You'll always have your arena and your big team battle for your classic Halo, but they're gonna be a BR mode, maybe even like a Warzone kind of thing, maybe even Firefight or whatever in the future, where they're gonna be going after new audiences, because that's what Halo needs to keep the franchise from not stagnating.
Yeah, they unfortunately, like you touched on, are in this weird position. And the same goes with anybody who comes in and takes over a beloved franchise. We've seen it with Star Wars. People, if you change it too much, people get mad. If you don't change it enough, people get mad. And it's just this really impossible balance. I'm one of the people who loved Warzone and Halo 5. Outside of the rec pack system, which was very loot boxy, very of that era, the fundamental idea of Warzone to me was perfect for the Halo universe. It gave you that scale that I've always imagined in Halo. Like when you play Halo Combat Evolved for the first time and you get to the silent cartographer and you see the environments, you see the scope of everything, and you go, damn, this game's huge. And then you start to see like little bits and pieces of the war versus the Spartans and the Covenant. Warzone to me captured that perfectly. Having the NPC enemies out fighting each other, fighting other players, having that scope, having all of the vehicles together, that felt epic. That felt so damn good. And I know not everyone loved Warzone, but I was really disappointed when Halo Infinite didn't announce any new modes to really fill that gap. It was just classic arena and classic big team battle, and that was pretty much it. And sure, the big team battle is bigger, but I don't think it's big enough for what a lot of people want in a modern space. Like you touched on, all of the biggest games are 50 to 100 players, and I really want Halo to look at the ideas that worked with Warzone and revisit those. It would be such an amazing experience if they could give you like a 50-player battle royale that also incorporates wild enemies. So it just feels like this epic full-scale battle, because that to me is where Halo's always shined. You have vehicles that are unmatched. Halo has the best vehicles of any multiplayer shooter, hands down. As much as I love Battlefield's vehicles, nothing to me is as fun as Halo, and I want to see a mode really lean into that. And even with big team battle now, the vehicles feel so kind of scarce. Like the way they spawn those in. I want a mode that really leans into that, really leans into what the scale could be. And if certain Affinity is delivering that, yeah, I'm all for it. I understand that not everyone wants it, but, not to be rude, but you don't have to play it. If they add it and you still have arena and big team battle, I don't see how that hurts anyone, really. And I think it would only help grow the player base of Halo. And I think any Halo fan wants Halo Infinite to be this huge success. And I think, for better or worse, depending on how you feel as a Legacy fan, a Battle Royale type mode would only make Halo bigger.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, if this is true, which, Jazz is usually spot on with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking a reveal of it during the Xbox Summer Showcase would go a long way,
They need goodwill. Like, they desperately need goodwill for Halo. And they've started trickling stuff out for season 2 to get people back on board, but yeah, they need a big reveal of a big thing very, very soon, because people are, if season 2 doesn't quell a lot of the concerns, the conversations about the problems of Halo Infinite aren't going away. If season 2 isn't amazing, people are still going to be constantly complaining about this game.
Yeah, and they still haven't delivered a roadmap, so maybe during the summer showcase. I don't know whether hey, what's up for season, because Sea of Thieves dropped one like right away at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, Sea of Thieves right out of the gate. Like, here's the roadmap.
But they've been on with Sea of Thieves for so long now. Like it's just like,
yes, they've had years to kind of fine tune the experience. So yeah, they learned some hard lessons. We all know Sea of Thieves at launch wasn't what people wanted it to be, and we saw all the developer updates from Joe Neate and the team just looking tired, so tired. That team was so desperately trying to deliver content in a fashion that people were happy about, and it was just impossible. So we know that Xbox has been there before, and we know they've corrected it in the past. So I'm definitely not in the camp that Halo Infinite's doomed or dead or any of that, but I understand why people are complaining.
So how does the chat feel about this, Miles? What's chat saying? Are they for BR mode? Are they against it? While you're here, we got like what, 270 people watching. Hit that like button for Miles.
Yeah, there we go.
If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button. Share the show. Tell people that Miles is finally live after a 30-minute delay.
I know. I feel bad. I'm normally so punctual. I'm normally like, let's go on the dot. 10 a.m. on the dot. We are live, but yes, again, technical difficulties. Windows, love you so much. You are the best. You are the most flawless operating system that mankind has ever seen. So the chat is kind of divided, Rand. We have a good mix of people. We have a good mix of people who are like, no, I don't want it. Halo doesn't need it. Then you have a lot of people who either say, it's not going to hurt. I don't care if they add it. It's maybe not my favorite thing, but I think it's only going to help. And then you have a lot of people who's like, yes, please. Halo desperately needs a battle royale. So I think, You know, I don't think there's anything they would lose by adding it.
I think there's a lot of gamers that are hate battle royale, that it became basically ubiquitous right now. Like all the
Yes.
top, like they don't understand why people like it because they tried it and they hated it or whatever. And it's not like the biggest thing ever, and it's what all the top streamers stream, right? You know, your Tim the Tatmans, your Doctor Disrespects, and whatever. And you know, because they don't like it, they're like Halo shouldn't have it or shouldn't need it. But I think it does. Like I said, you gotta change the times. I know Halo tries to keep this balance between sticking to OG core values and not going too far into like Call of Duty-esque, you know, Call of Duty style like stuff. So it's like they're already kind of like walking that thin line there to please people who, you know, are very vocal when they don't like something in Halo, right? But I'm sorry, like it needs a battle royale. If you're a shooter in the year of our Lord 2022, like, and you don't got battle royale, like something went wrong. So yeah, I'm super pumped. That would bring me back so hard. Like it would bring me back so hardcore, Miles. I would be there day one, day zero. I'd probably put hundreds of hours into it because you know that's the thing with me. It's like I didn't really play that much of Halo Infinite's multiplayer because my crew didn't really want to play it. It was just like we've been here, we've done this since like Halo 2, right? And we're all about BR. So then, like, but you know, if that BR drops and my crew's all ready to play and they want to play for a long time, that's when the hours come in, you know. So I want it, and I think I think even though the 343 people laugh at them because of what's going on, I still think they're they know what they should be doing, right?
Yes.
And I think they know battle royale is something that the game needs. And I'll say this: it needs to be good. It needs to be great. You can't just do some like fly by night battle royale mode that isn't good because people are going to play it and they're going to be like, well, this isn't as good as X, Y, or Z, and I'm done. It needs to be a battle royale mode that plays into the strengths of Halo, right? So I don't know what that is. Certain Affinity is the ones making it. They've been, ever since their creation, they've always made stuff for all the Halo games. I think Max Hoberman is the CEO of the company, which, by the way, he liked the tweet where they said Microsoft should acquire them.
Mm-hmm.
Acquisition talk, Miles, you gotta love it.
He's trying to get that bag, all right? You can't fault the company.
He should get that back. I honestly think Microsoft should acquire Certain Affinity. Like, they've helped out on Halo for so long. They're working on that Monster Hunter style
Project
game for Xbox. Yeah, I mean, drop the bag, Phil. Come on.
Do it. I mean,
bring them home.
They're clearly in tune with Microsoft. They're clearly familiar with a lot of their different teams. They clearly have a good relationship. Microsoft is clearly happy with the work they're doing. Clearly trust them if they're getting them involved with key modes for Halo Infinite. So, yeah, I think that is a smart move. And I'm on the same page, Rand. I want the Halo Infinite Battle Royale to be Halo. I don't want it to be Fortnite reskinned with Halo characters. I want them to take the core fundamental ideas of what make Halo unique and special in the space, because that's why so many people love Halo, is because it does things that other shooters don't. And I want it to translate that into an epic big scale battle. Because I'll tell you a story about Fortnite, because I was so cynical on Fortnite for such a long time. And for years, I didn't play it. I played it at launch. I actually bought Fortnite at launch for the building mode, like the campaign mode. And that's why I was excited about Fortnite. And then when they pivoted away from that into Battle Royale, which at the time was a basically complete knockoff of PUBG and in every single way, I was so cynical and I was so annoyed. And I just said, no, I'm done. I'm done with Fortnite. I've gone back in recent months, and I gotta say, as dumb as it is, there is something special and undeniably magical about having a squad with Ghost Rider, a giant hot dog, Venom, and Chris Redfield. Getting that squad together in a pickup truck, blasting the new Korn. They have like the new Korn song in Fortnite, blasting Korn with the squad in Fortnite as this ridiculous cast of characters. It's undeniably fun. I don't care who you are or what you play. Like, I can't imagine anyone who likes video games having that experience and saying, I'm not having fun. I just can't. And I want Halo to have that.
Are you Chris Redfield in this scenario? Is that your character?
I'm the giant hot dog, actually.
Are you a giant hot dog? No. Really?
Yeah, dog.
Do you when you stomp on the 12-year-olds? Do you dab on them? Do you do some dances?
I do Savage. You know, I do the Savage dance on the kid. Oh yeah, so Fortnite. Again, not my favorite game, but it is fun, and I want Halo to have that energy and that excitement. Again, I'm not somebody who cares about the cat ears or the goofy cosmetics. I know some people are like, well, how does this tie into the lore of Halo? I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to. Play the campaign if you're obsessed with the lore. It's kind of where I'm at.
The lore. Don't talk to me about lore when you got Master Cheeks out there.
Quick aside, while you're talking about Master Cheeks, I watched episode 4 of the Halo Infinite show. There is so much butt cheek in this series. Like there is a lot of butt cheek, not just Chief. I think I've seen 3 or 4 different sets of butt cheeks in the Halo series.
What are they trying to imply, Miles, with all the butts?
Like I've been speculating that, the Master Cheeks has set the precedent that Master Chief, he's getting it. Episode 5 or 6, he's getting it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to spoil the plot lines for people who haven't watched it yet, but I have a feeling we're going to see a little Master Chief romance scene, and if that does happen, I cannot wait to see the discourse online.
Oh man, wonderful.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on from Halo here, and let's talk about just a wild roller coaster that happened this week. Because a few weeks ago, you and I were talking about this before the show. There was the week of 3 big PlayStation announcements, and everybody's like, damn, who are they acquiring? We saw people saying, From Software. This is the last multi-platform From Software exclusive because PlayStation is scooping up From Software. And there's just been this wave of rumors since then. And to add some interesting wrinkles to all of this, earlier in the week, PlayStation Studios updated their banner on their website, and they included Death Stranding.
Oh my! And who made Death Stranding, Miles?
And Kojima Productions made Death Stranding.
Confirmed.
So yes, people took to Twitter and said, "Oh my God, it's happening, dude! They're acquiring Kojima Productions. They've added Death Stranding to the official banner. It's a done deal." Rip. And then to just really, I don't know if he was just trolling hard or what, but Kojima took that banner image, just the image, and posted it on Twitter. No context, no text whatsoever.
He knows what he's doing, man.
He had to know that was a big conversation, and he just posted that banner, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's confirmed. It's true. It's happening." And people were quote tweeting Kojima and using that as evidence that yes, PlayStation has definitely acquired them. And within 1 hour, it got completely out of hand. That tweet was only there for 1 hour, and then he had to come out and be like, "Okay, sorry, that was maybe a little misleading. I just want to say that Kojima Productions has been and will be an independent studio." And
and he did this at 11 p.m. at night. Imagine if he did it during the middle of the day.
Yeah, it was so fun to watch because people were so excited about and I get it. We've all been there. We've all been excited about the possibilities, gone down the conspiracy rabbit holes. We've all done it. But the way that this kind of exploded with Kojima was just absolutely wild. And it was funny that kind of culminated with Kojima just being like, "Okay, let's shut this down now because it's clearly gotten out of hand." So here's, for the record, we will be, which is the important distinction. It wasn't because it was Bluepoint who said that. Bluepoint is an independent studio.
Well, Bluepoint updated their Twitter bio to say that they were independent after that image leaked or whatever, right? Sony put it out, which Sony leaked it themselves. So people use that as oh well, they did this and Kojima and blah blah blah, right? So one of the things I really don't like about all this situation, not necessarily the Kojima thing, and I do have thoughts about that, is how the acquisition season has just dominated the discourse the last, has been ever since Bethesda, really.
It's opened the floodgates for anything is possible, and to some degree that is true.
And you get Bethesda and Activision, anything's possible, and then Sony's out there getting Bungie and all these other studios. It's and then Bracer's out there kind of on the low, like still picking people up. So it's like, it just, because we get questions all the time on Xbox too. And they're like, who do you think is next? Who's Xbox acquiring next? IO Interactive, Crystal Dynamics,
WB.
WB and all this stuff. And it's like, yo, who am I to say? Right? Like, I have, people that I would like Xbox to acquire, right? But like, are they talking now? How close are they? Like, who knows what the situation is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things change or fluid all the time, and it's tough to say, especially when it's like, who do you think's closer to getting acquired? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
But it's brought up all the time, and then it was exasperated because of the Greg Miller stuff. And it's exasperated from these so-called PlayStation insiders on Twitter who know nothing, and they constantly push this stuff, and they're constantly proven wrong all the time. So yeah, the big thing was with the Kojima was, okay, they changed their banner.
Yes.
And they include Sam Bridges. He's in the picture now. This means acquisition. And people just jump right to acquisition, even though it's like, well, Death Stranding is an IP that is owned by Sony.
Yes.
And we did see them say that it would be included in the PS Plus revamp, right? As one of the tiers. I think it was mentioned like, oh, Death Stranding would be like. So it's like, okay, well, I know both Sony and Microsoft consider any game that they publish first party. Like, we may do the differentiate, like, oh, it's a second party game. Like,
yes.
Like Ori and the Will o' the Wisp with Moon Studios. Microsoft considers it as a first party game, even though they don't own Moon. They own the IP. So like, Sony considered, Death Stranding a first party game.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't they include it in their banner? And yeah, Kojima has a little bit of troll. He knows what he's doing. Like, so he posts that thing and people run with it, and only for him to come out and say, well, sorry for the misunderstanding. We are and will continue to be. The thing is, for now, right? Like, because who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now? Like, if you probably go back 6 years from now, or 6 years from this day, but Bungie probably thought, we're not selling to anybody, right? Or Bethesda or whatever. Like, things change over the course of time, and Kojima has a history of, hey, his relationship with Konami really deteriorated. Would he really want to sell his company again to somebody else? Even though he might have a great relationship with PlayStation, would you really want to like go through all that? So
I'm sure at one point he had a great relationship with Konami.
Yeah, and and I even see Jeff Grubb was part of this whole discourse because people brought up like, hey, what about that Xbox exclusive?
Yeah.
Right? Because Grubb has been talking about that for what seems like a year at this point.
I think it's been over a year now.
It's been a while. And he said there's still movement on it. It's still on as a couple weeks ago. But it's funny because people use this Kojima thing in Xbox as a way to say Jeff Grubb is wrong about everything. You ever notice that? Like, what's
frustrating?
Go ahead.
And say what's frustrating about the acquisition season conversations is, like you touched on, it becomes exclusively about the acquisitions and what it means for the platform. So we start eliminating what it means for the games, what it means for the developers, and we have people who are using it as ammunition in this weird console war. And it's not about the fact that, oh, what this means for Kojima and his games. It's the fact that, oh, maybe this means that Xbox project, that won't happen. Haha, Xbox fans don't get a Kojima game. And then the Xbox fans are using that, countering that, saying, oh, the Xbox game is still happening. Sorry. PlayStation doesn't get all the Kojima exclusives, and it becomes this weird battle of platform leverage more than anything else. Those are the conversations that dominate. And it's at a certain point, it gets a little exhausting, I gotta say, to have that be the focus. Like Starfield, my God, for the longest time, Starfield was only about the exclusivity. That was the only conversation that existed about Starfield for so long, and I was so tired of it. And we're seeing that time and time and time again, and it's just this constant war of what this means for my platform and what this means for what you don't get. And it's It's tiring, Rand. I gotta say.
Yeah, it is. But to be fair, nobody knew anything about Starfield, so that discussion around the exclusivity was the only thing people could really talk
That is
about
true.
with
Yeah,
Starfield.
we had like a picture of a moon for a
Yeah.
year. So yeah, I guess a little more reasonable
Even
there.
now, the only thing we have is concept art,
Hmm.
right? And and
No,
and
we've got
that
some
that
in-engine stuff. That robot.
yeah, the trailer, but I'm
uh,
still. It's not like there's not a whole hell of a lot, but yeah, but this will just continue to go. Xbox is kind of in this position where they're like, they're struggling with, well, not struggling, but like they got Activision Blizzard to worry about.
Yep.
And it
Yep.
seems like every single week something pops up being like, this company who says you should vote against the merger, and the government's looking at it like, you ain't gonna get away with this, Microsoft, you naughty boy, and it's constantly in the news. It's just acquisition, 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 acquisition all the time. And look, like I I'm a fan of like you know, Obsidian or Ninja Theory, they do great work, but they're constantly struggling to find the money for the next project.
Hmm.
Oh, here comes Microsoft to be like, you don't got to worry about it. We got you, fam. You're good.
Here's that
You know?
bag. Get weird, get wild.
Yeah.
Take 5 years to make
Or,
this nightmare
yeah.
fuel.
And Sony being like, hey, we worked with Housemarque enough or Blue Point. We feel comfortable. Let's take this to the next level. Like I'm a fan of those sort of things, right? Um, but now it's like every studio imaginable is up for sale. Like not only from Xbox but from PlayStation and elsewhere, and it's just uh, the discourse can get tiring at times, and this Kojima thing was just I had to laugh because I saw it because I was up and I saw it on Twitter. I'm like, oh, okay, Kojima, and then Kojima immediately denied it. I'm like, I bet you there's a bunch of people deleting their tweets right now.
It's
you know,
I know not everyone likes Kojima, but I love the dude. That level of trolling right there was just absolutely beautiful. Like he is in tune with the community. He knows what people are talking about, and for him just to like throw that out there so casually and just have that be on his Twitter page with all of these conversations just running rampant. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, and it shows that he can have fun with all these conversations because I'm sure he sees it too. Anyone, if you're someone with that prestige, there are people probably constantly pinging you on Twitter like, "Hey, are you going to be acquired by so and so?" And like clearly he's in demand if he's making he made Death Stranding. There's talks that Norman Reedus was saying that Death Stranding 2 was coming casually, and then he's working on this project with Xbox. Clearly, he's in demand. He's probably not really in a position where he needs to worry about being acquired by anyone because people are willing to give him big old bags of money to make exclusive games for them. And that's probably a
Yeah.
better place to be when it comes to freedom because you can just sit back, make your game, and then move on to the next thing. Go to the next person who wants to work with you. And that's probably more exciting for him coming off of that Konami relationship where you were more or less owned. He couldn't even go to what was it? Was it the Game Awards or what was the
whatever it was at the time.
the infamous
Yeah.
conference where Konami's like, you can't be here. You can't
Yeah.
come and accept this award for your own game. Like that is wild.
And Jeff
So
Keenan was
wild.
crying on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's his buddy. It's his good pal.
You can't see you don't want to see your good pal done dirty like that. Come on.
What game was that? That was for Metal Gear Solid 5, right?
Yeah, that's for Metal Gear Solid 5, following the whole Silent Hills announcement and that
But
whole.
you know what I love is I love the conspiracy theories. Like, oh, they acquired Kojima, right? And you know what's next? They're gonna go to Konami and they're gonna get Metal Gear, and Kojima's then gonna work on Metal Gear Solid 6. It's like it's not just like we got Kojima, right? It's now like the next step. It's like, oh, now we're buying Konami and getting these IPs so Kojima can work on Metal Gear again, right? It's just like so many layers to the story, and people kind of like they make up these fictional stories in their head. That, like, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? But no, it's like instead of keeping those thoughts in your head, they tweet it out or make videos about it, right? And I bet you people made videos about it, and then were like a 2 hour or however long it was until he denied it, and he was just like, "No, sorry." It's just like, but
Oops.
people still hang on to the hope, Miles, because like I said, who knows what the future holds, right?
And that's it's important to never say never in this day and age. we have proved what was it? Special Nick infamously was like, oh yeah, Activision not being acquired by
They'll
Xbox.
never, yeah, they'll
Like
never be
3 weeks
acquired by
later, just
3 weeks
oops.
later. Yeah. No, but I mean, what happens in a scenario like PlayStation funds, maybe Death Stranding 2, or Xbox funds this other game, and what happens if PlayStation pours a whole bunch of money into this Kojima project potentially, and it doesn't sell well,
Yeah,
and now maybe like because of that, like there's a bomb, and with how much money these games cost to make, like if you got a bomb for a game, that could be it for your studio. Then at that point, it's like, maybe it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll take someone's offer to join them or whatever, because you never know. You never know how these things can go, right?
exactly. Yes, like you said, a lot of things change. And maybe one day you're in a really good financial position, and then a couple years later you're not. And that's the reality with Bethesda. The reason that Bethesda was acquired is, and obviously Xbox has a really good relationship with them, but they were trying to make sure that their business was sustainable, and they wanted to ensure that they could make good games and have a supportive pipeline for making them. But they also had to like get stuff out to make money, to keep money coming in so they could support the development costs of those games. And it gets
Yeah.
expensive, it gets scary. And when you have somebody like Microsoft come in and offer to take care of some of those back end concerns, that's got to be appealing. It has,
Yep.
because a lot of these people, they just want to make great games. At the end of the day, that's what they want. More than anything else, is they want to make really good games for people to play. And the reality is, when you're independent, you have to make concessions and say, our vision can't be this because we need to get this out by X date. And that means that we need to have this much money coming in from other projects. And we start signing all these contracts to offset the cost. And then you're looking at companies like Remedy, who have, God, 8, 9 projects in the work at the same time. You're like, wow, that seems scary. That seems stressful to be able to, commit to all of those things in order to keep this machine going. And, I love Remedy, but I am kind of concerned about their trajectory moving forward because of, we've seen it with Platinum Games. Platinum Games committed to a ton of projects simultaneously, and all of those projects didn't end up being that great. And, it's not to say that they're not a talented team, because they really are, but they overcommit because they need to keep the money coming in to survive. And it's got to be stressful. So I feel for anyone. And that's why, like, when I talk about acquisitions, I want to know what that means for the games. Like, not exclusivity is cool, obviously. This is an Xbox show, and we want to talk all about the Xbox exclusives, and we want to flex the Xbox exclusives, but I need to know that somebody joining Xbox, that means their games will be better. And to me, that's more important than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well said, Miles.
I wasn't upset that Call of Duty was going to PlayStation. Like, for me, that didn't really matter. I was more excited because maybe this means we won't get a Call of Duty every single year. Maybe this means we won't have 8, 9 teams on Call of Duty every single year, and that's all Activision does. Maybe we'll see their other IP kind of flourish. Maybe we'll see Crash Bandicoot come back. Maybe we'll see Spyro, Tony Hawk, all these other amazing IP that they're sitting on have a chance, because it's not a Call of Duty machine anymore. It's there's more possibilities and more hope for the future, Rand.
Yeah. We'll have to see how that future plays out, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they spent all that money for Call of Duty. What's the business reason? I'm with you. Like I feel like you 100%. But like in regards to that whole thing, it's like, what business reason does Microsoft have to pull people off Call of Duty, or even make Call of Duty every other year? It's the money maker. It's the reason you spend 70 bills on Activision Blizzard. So. Yeah, I would like to think like you, like, hey man, Beanox making some cool stuff, or Raven,
Yeah,
or
let's
bring
go.
Toys for Bob, maybe making a banjo for my banjo peeps out there, even though I wouldn't care, right? But like business wise, when you look at the dollars you spend and what would probably do the most for Game Pass, it's like, is it just Call of Duty? I mean, it seems like, but then we forget about Blizzard. I think they're going to be, stepping it up.
I'm excited about Blizzard for the first time in a while, which is a good feeling, because things looked bleak for Activision Blizzard, unfortunately. As a legacy fan, as someone who loved Diablo 2, one of my all-time favorite games, I had zero interest in Diablo 2 Remastered when it launched. None. And that broke my heart. Like, I was originally so excited about Diablo 2 Remastered, and then all of these things happened with Activision Blizzard, all of these issues had with the quality of their games, and I was like, I just don't care. Like, I am so cynical regarding Activision Blizzard. And, for the first time in a while, like, depending on how this whole acquisition deal plays out, I am optimistic and hopeful for the future. And that feels good. As a fan of video games, that feels really good to say.
Excuse me, Miles. It was Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Oh, sorry. Yes, more clever. What was what was it? Darksiders War Mastered? Was that the infamously bad one?
Yeah. Darksiders 2 Death Initiative.
Oh yeah, the Deathfinitive edition. That's right. The Deathfinitive. Yeah, marketing. God, just killing it. All right, I got to give a quick shout out to the 350 people rocking with us on this beautiful Saturday, despite technical difficulties, but despite starting incredibly late. You're all here having a good time. I'm going to get to some super chats here, and then we're going to get into a section of the show that involves you, the people watching live directly, because we're going to talk about desires, the wants.
The audience involved?
The wants of you, the Xbox fans. We're going to dive all into the biggest kind of criticisms and desires for the platform. But first, Yodani
Games. That's the biggest
says, Bugsnax coming to Xbox, PlayStation equals doomed. I got to say, I know people are pooping, making fun of Bugsnax, but I'm ready.
Miles, I got a question for you. And I know you kind of talked about it with Jez. I talked about it on Xbox too. And I think I even mentioned to you in DMs. But is it a coincidence that Godfall and Bugsnax came out at the same time? Is that like when the contract ended? And I brought it up on Xbox too. It's like, do we know for sure that Deathloop's contract is strictly just 1 year? I know it says in the little thing, like, not on other consoles until at least September 14th, but, that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be there 1 year. It just says at least, right? It's like sort of like at minimum.
That's very specific wording, the at least. And
yeah, so I know Godfall had one, and it was like May 12th, 2021, and it didn't come to PS4 until like August. So I'm just curious if is it a coincidence that they just lined up like this, or did the exclusivity end? And if we're looking at Deathloop, will Deathloop be there this year in September on Xbox, or is it possible they had like a 14 to 16 month contract and we won't see Deathloop till next year? It was just something I thought of when both games launched in April.
I think it's safe to say that we can no longer rely on 1 year exclusive deals, because we are seeing weird contracts. We're seeing a couple months, we're seeing 3 months, we're seeing 6 months. Nintendo is getting exclusives that are a couple weeks. There's like the rumor that House of the Dead Remastered is coming to Xbox this month, and it just launched as a Switch exclusive a couple weeks ago. So the whole conversation of exclusivity no longer hinges on the past 1 year deals, the past 6 month deals. It's now probably way more dependent on that title and how much value or stake they put into that individual title. So I think it's safe to say that maybe Deathloop and maybe Ghostwire Tokyo aren't just 1 year. We don't know for sure. Maybe it is, and maybe with the whole Xbox coming in after these deals were signed or being negotiated and buying them, maybe it is just going to be a year because they want it on Xbox as soon as possible. But at this point, I don't even know. With Final Fantasy VII Remake and all of these others, it's coming when it's coming, and I'm no longer counting on 1 year exclusives anymore. But it is interesting that both Godfall, which was the launch title, and Bugsnax, which was the launch title, are coming. Bugsnax are coming around the same time.
Then again, Oddworld Soulstorm wasn't a year, and
yeah.
So, and I did see our good friend, the Insipid Ghost, was in the news this week.
Yeah, he got some headlines from IGN. People are
every single article I was
devastated.
Devastating. It's like, good job, Ghost.
Oh, people love a good. It's the same thing with the Halo TV series, where people are like, they didn't play the games when they made the show, and it's like, no. Please look at all you need to do is read like 2 sentences before and 2 sentences after to know that is just completely taken out of context. But people want that juicy headline. They want devastated. They want it in there in quotes so people can be like, what? PlayStation Plus is really bad for game development? And that's what people want, Rand. They want that drama.
They do.
All right, Georgie says, Rand, Do top 10 lists or other type of Xbox content. We were talking about this before we went live, but people were like, yo, Rand, make videos again.
Yeah, make videos. Yeah.
Are you going to make videos for these fans or what, dude?
Yes, sir. Will be this week.
Okay, good. You got people just willing to super chat you to make videos.
Super chatting Miles to make sure Rand's making videos.
RDX Son of Fett says 343 working on a non-infinite or Wars 3 okay. 343 working on a non-infinite or Halo Wars 3 Halo game? I assume is that. I would love to see 343 get a chance to not do Halo, if I'm being honest. And I'm excited about Coalition not doing Gears. As much as Gears is one of my favorite franchises of all time, it has to be tiring to be a team that only does one thing.
Yeah. There's room to make like a Halo game that's not Halo Infinite, I would think.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that. But like you, I'd like to see 343 let loose.
Yeah, let them experiment, because that's where a lot of the best some of our favorite franchises of all time come from a team who just wanted to do something completely different and completely new. And again, like we talked about 343, you don't get to do that with a traditional Halo game. You can't. The world would explode. Fans would be storming 343 Industries headquarters if they made Halo wildly different than the past. So, yeah, I would love to see them branch out. And I think, really, with the current culture of Xbox game studios, it's only fair if Xbox allows these teams the freedom to try new things. Because imagine if you are working at 343 and you see Rare doing Everwild, you see Hellblade doing Project Mara, you see all these other teams who get to experiment and do weird things, and then Xbox says to you, you're doing Halo, you're doing Gears, that's it. Sorry. We're going to let all these other teams experiment. Double Fine. We're going to pick them up, let them do whatever they want. But not you. You have to make Halo. Sorry. Like, that, I have to imagine, would upset people. And I don't imagine you would keep people around very long if that was the culture, is you have to make Halo. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. All right, Rand, let's get into the main meat of today's episode, and that involves this lull in Xbox news, which objectively Xbox has been a little bit quiet. And what that has done is that has made a lot of Xbox community members bring up all of their criticisms of the platform. So in lieu of this news, we're seeing all of this silence being filled with kind of concerns, complaints, criticisms, and I don't think all of it's unfair. So I want to touch on some of the bigger ones that I'm seeing a lot. And it's not just one or two people. These are points that I see constantly and repeatedly online. The first one, I know you're incredibly excited to dive into this. This is one that I wrote an editorial on this week. This is one I talked to Jez Corden about on Checkpoint, and that is Japanese developed games on Xbox. And the platform's struggle to consistently keep noteworthy Japanese games coming to Xbox. So, is this a big deal for you, Rand? I know you've jokingly DM'd me some stuff about this situation, but do you think this is a big deal overall, and should this be a priority for Xbox?
Personally, I'm of two minds of this. Personally, I don't care because I don't play JRPGs. So like when I see Miles cry about Legend of Mana not coming to Xbox, I just like, oh, poor Miles.
You get sick
Poor
pleasure
Miles.
in it, don't you? Don't you, Rand?
or whatever. So, but the other part of me is like, you know, I don't like the fact that Xbox as a platform misses out on those games, right? So I do think like when you compare from Xbox One gen to this, they are doing much better, right?
Yes.
I mean, the fact that we're complaining, you're complaining, or you read an article about.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one, okay?
Like a game from 1993 not hitting Xbox Series X or S or whatever. You know, we're in good straight. Like, I think it hurts more that something like Final Fantasy isn't coming to Xbox, right? That is a much bigger JRPG than any of those other games combined. And I do think that is a negative for Xbox, that Square Enix is basically taking Sony's check and essentially almost like kind of destroying that genre's presence on Xbox, right? You got no Final Fantasy VII Remake. Forspoken is 2 years away if it ever,
Mhm.
ever comes at all. Final Fantasy 16. Who knows what happens with Kingdom Hearts 4, right? Because I could easily see that being, money hatted by PlayStation. And then you got, probably the biggest franchise, or not the biggest, but at least the most notable one that skips, and that's Persona, right? And even when they kind of have these events, like the last Persona, like was it Persona? What was it, 3 that recent? Like it was a game that was on 360 that and then they didn't bother to put it on Xbox Series X, right? Wasn't it something like that,
Oh
like
yeah,
Persona
was
3
it Persona 4 Arena or
or
something?
something like that?
It's backwards compatible, I think, or something on
I don't
Xbox,
think
but
it's
it's
backwards compatible, but it was like 360. It was a game on the Xbox, and then it was like, oh well, we're not putting it. Like, I
the
think that's an issue.
yeah, because I'll say, as much as we have examples like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where there's obviously exclusivity. Obviously, in some of these cases, PlayStation, for example, is buying exclusivity. But the more interesting thing here and the more concerning thing is we have a ton of games that there's no exclusive deals whatsoever that are not coming to Xbox. So it's not a matter of someone paying. I see a lot of people fill in the conspiracy that PlayStation is paying to have all these games not come to Xbox. That's not the reality. PlayStation did not pay money to have Legend of Mana, this obscure remake of a PS1 game, not come to Xbox because it
But
can't.
though, but they kind of are though, Miles, because with them basically keeping the bigger AAA JRPGs out of Xbox, they are sort of responsible for the smaller ones, because if the audience for JRPGs is on PlayStation because the bigger games are there, then some of these companies will be like, well, we're not going to go with Xbox. So like they are sort of indirectly responsible for some of this,
Some of it, but the harsh reality, the really, really harsh reality for Xbox is that a lot of publishers don't feel it's even worth it to do an Xbox port. They feel like
Sure.
they won't even make enough money to even bother. And that's the harsh reality, and that's going to be the hurdle they have to overcome because yeah, in some cases we can point to exclusivity, and that is important. And if you are someone who prefers JRPGs, chances are you've gone to chances are you've gone to PlayStation, you've gone to Nintendo because they are consistent. Xbox has a huge problem with consistency. The frustrating thing when you look at the original Xbox, you look at the Xbox 360, they invested heavily in Japan. They had a lot of really cool partnerships with Japanese studios, and they had a lot of really great Japanese exclusives. And then when the Kinect dropped and they started shifting the focus of the business away from that and investing in Western studios exclusively, investing in Kinect, tail end of the Xbox 360 into Xbox One, support for Japanese games was abysmal. Just terrible. They just didn't the leadership team at Xbox did not care about that market.
Mm-hmm.
And couple that with the overall just negative launch of the Xbox One, and they lost all momentum in Japan. Because if you look at the sales figures of Xbox One or OG Xbox, not amazing, but stronger than a lot of people expected in Japan. And then if you look at the sales of the Xbox 360 in Japan, 3 times that, 500,000 OG Xbox, 1.5 million Xbox 360, and then Xbox One, 100,000. All momentum died hard when it comes to Japan and Xbox, and they are still trying to overcome that. So we can look at the current structure of Xbox, and we know they are trying. They're making a lot of the right moves. They're trying to get interesting partnerships, and it will be this uphill battle for them to kind of correct that and get people consistently excited about Japanese developed games on the platform. But when we have games like Scarlet Nexus, an interesting tidbit we got this week is we had that team come out and basically celebrate 2 million players, and they specifically, which I thought was incredibly interesting, mentioned Xbox fans and Xbox Game Pass players. So
that didn't sit well with the PlayStation fans, though, Miles.
I saw people, I saw PlayStation fans mad, but it was so exciting to see this team come out and say, thank you for 2 million players, and thank you specifically to Xbox fans and Xbox Game Pass players. That messaging right there is so critically important for Xbox. They need to win the favor and they need to win the support of Japanese teams, and examples like that are going to have more Japanese publishers look at Game Pass and say, maybe we need to reevaluate our relationship with Xbox.
So is the solution Game Pass then? Is the solution...
It's not always going to be Game Pass, but...
Well, I mean, Scarlet Nexus getting those many players is because of Game Pass, at least on the Xbox side, right? Like, I feel for you, Miles. I
I,
feel for you because I
I don't
know
think
you
you
want.
do.
I know you want these. No, like, look, I feel for my banjo brethren who haven't gotten a banjo game, right? Uh, I want you guys to be happy. I want my Xbox brethren to be happy about the games they get and the type of experiences they want. Even though I don't particularly care about it, I want you guys to be happy. So I want Miles to get the games that he wants, so I don't have to see a tweet on my thing be like, "Oh man, stupid Legend of Dragoon 2 didn't come back," or whatever. I just made up a Sony PlayStation game, but you get what I'm saying, right? Um, yeah, I think Xbox has done. I mean, they got all the Yakuza games. I remember that was a sticking point for a long time, like the
Yep.
Yakuza franchise. And if they can somehow convince Persona to come over, they can make the small steps. Like you like you said, they mentioned Scarlet Nexus. You never would have thought they'd be like, thanks to Xbox players, because
Yeah.
it's just
Did
kind
not
of
expect to see that,
yeah.
if I'm being
So
honest.
if Xbox continues to um you know if Game Pass continues to grow, and if they do a lot, if the Series S makes more inroads in Japan, alongside maybe like cloud streaming, because to get the Japanese audience, you're gonna have to give them experiences that they want, right?
Yes.
So that's the problem. Jez talked about this on Xbox too. It's like a chicken and an egg situation. Like to get the audience, you need the games.
Uh-huh.
You know,
But
but
to get the
like
games, you need the favor of the
you need the
people.
audience.
Hmm.
So an Xbox, it's just. I think I've mentioned this before on your show. Maybe I haven't, but like when you were deciding on whatever system was going to be your go-to system, right? If you're a Nintendo fan, you knew instinctively that third-party support wasn't going to be the greatest, especially third-party support from Western studios that make
AAA.
high-end, like you knew going in, like, yeah, I'm not going to get like the Call of Duties and the Maddens and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And you're an Xbox fan, you knew going in, yeah, I'm not going to get maybe all the Japanese games. That was just kind of accepted sort of thing. So we're still dealing with it, but
Hmm.
I have like there's I never thought they'd ever get all the Yakuza games, and that the next Yakuza game would launch day one. Like I never thought that would happen, but we are living in that world. Like I never thought Persona would come over, and it sounds like there are rumors that Persona will.
All right, let's put
So
tinfoil hat on regarding Persona real quick. Tinfoil hats, this is only conspiracy time. Again, we are just making fun of Kojima conspiracies, but Persona is leaving the PlayStation Plus collection this month.
mhm.
Microsoft had a weird Persona related. They replied to someone's Persona
Yeah.
tweet saying, "How many times have you beaten Persona since
Zero
Persona
times
5?"
on Xbox on Windows. So
And then specifically Persona 5 Royal, and they had this like smirky face. I'm like, what are you doing? People are like, if this isn't a hint towards anything, people are just gonna be really mad. And
I think people are going to be mad because I think it's just how brands interact.
Mhm.
Although I do think Persona will make the jump, but I think it's going to either be with like Persona 4 Golden or something,
If they get
But
Persona 5 Royal in Game Pass, that's gonna be some headlines. That would be such a huge
well,
get.
I mean, Persona 5 is not even on the Switch, is it? You would think they would put it on. Like Atlas is weird, bro. Like they're missing out on some money by not at least putting some of those games on the Nintendo freaking Switch, right? So
It's a mixed bag. I think there's some of the old ones. It might be a performance thing, honestly.
I mean,
with
they
the
brought
Switch.
Joker to
Smash.
Smash, right?
Yeah.
You would think, okay, yeah, like this is going to be a prelude to the game coming to the Switch. But yeah, like I mentioned, I didn't think the Yakuza games would ever come to Xbox. I mean, I thought for sure Chrono Cross wouldn't hit Xbox, and there it is.
Yeah,
I'm
that
like,
was
okay,
exciting to see.
that's interesting.
A weird, obscure PlayStation 1 remaster coming to Xbox. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So they are making progress, and we just got No More Heroes 3 announced,
Yes,
and that
yeah,
has an
yeah.
Xbox version. So it's not
Things
all
are,
doom and
things are
gloom.
looking up, Miles.
Yes,
Turn
it's-
that frown upside down, bro.
Exactly. So it has been a weakness of Xbox, but I know when you hear when you hear Phil Spencer come out and talk about how often he goes to Japan, pre-pandemic, obviously things complicated that, but they are getting their biggest people in Japan to have these conversations and correct these things, and they are working hard. So I don't want to downplay what they've been doing, because Xbox has been putting in the legwork, and that is the most important thing. Because for a long time, Xbox was just the new kid on the block. They were the evil Western entity in the gaming industry coming in to just scoop up money. The way we kind of look at EA and those other big publishers now, we assume everything they do is nefarious. There were probably a lot of people who thought that of Xbox now. But when you have people like Sarah Bond in the space, when you have people like Phil Spencer on the ID side, people like Chris Charla, who have proven that, sure, it's a business, but they love games. They play games. They love games. And I think stuff like that, when you see Phil Spencer posting pictures of himself playing Elden Ring and stuff like that, like a lot of these Japanese teams can look at Xbox and know that the people there care about what they're doing. And I think that goes a long way. And as we see more and more games like Scarlet Nexus, Tales from Arise was another example of a game that sold well, a JRPG that sold well on Xbox. Who'd thunk it? Who'd thunk it? But here we are. So things are looking good. And if they give me Legend of Mana, then okay, then we've won. then I can be quiet. But until then, I will not be silenced.
You will not silence Miles when it comes to these JRPGs from 1995.
1999. All right? 1999. I'm sorry, Rand, but if you haven't listened to it, Legend of Mana soundtrack, the greatest soundtrack of all time. I will not be taking any questions. I will not be taking any notes there. Hands down. Listen to that entire soundtrack.
Outside of Legend of Mana, what are some of the notable ones that have skipped? I mean, we talked about the Final Fantasy games, which I think is probably a bigger blow.
Yeah, we've Final Fantasy. There's been a lot of examples of all but, where it's games have come to every single platform but.
Give me some examples. I know Legend of Mana because it was in your picture.
We have Valkyrie Chronicle, the new Valkyrie Chronicles. Okay. We have some of the Persona titles. I don't know. I'm blanking on a few. I'm blanking on a lot of them right now, but I'm sure people in the chat can draw, but there are a lot. All right, there's so many I can't even think of. Like
what were the three that you used for the image? For
exactly.
The article. You remember? It's like Legend of Mana. It was like right there, and it's like
Ni no Kuni. Ni no Kuni was another big one. There's been weird rumors or speculation that Level 5 has a negative relationship with Xbox. I can't confirm or deny that, but yeah, Ni no Kuni was another really, really big one. That a really beloved, pretty noteworthy JRPG that came to everything but Xbox. So there are plenty of examples, and I'm sure the chat is just filling it up, because again, it's not just me, Rand. My JRPG piece resonated with a lot of Xbox fans, because I've seen people say, yeah, you should, if that is your number one genre, you should probably go to PlayStation. You should probably go to Nintendo. For me, it's not my number one genre. JRPGs aren't my number one genre by any means, but I prefer to play on the Xbox platform, and it's kind of disappointing and kind of frustrating when I have to pick and choose where to play certain games. And I understand that that's how you make a platform more appealing, but for me, as someone invested in the Xbox ecosystem, it just shows that certain developers and publishers aren't interested in the Xbox platform, and that's a problem. If Xbox wants to be, quote unquote, the best place to play, they got to figure it out. All right, Rand, I'm gonna get to some super chats here. Now that people are dropping their super chats regarding their community desires, and this is one specifically for you. I know you're passionate about this particular topic. Nick W asks, "Hi Miles, hi Rand. What changes would you guys like to see for the Xbox achievement system?" So Rand, you've infamously played thousands of terrible video games.
I wouldn't say about thousands,
in the pursuit of you've played the worst video games possible in the pursuit of achievements. So achievements are clearly very important to you. What do you want to see? How do you specifics? Tell me specifically what you want to see from Xbox regarding changes to this system.
And before anybody roast me in chat, this is going to be a joke. You're right. I have played thousands of bad games, most of those being JRPGs, but
don't. You wouldn't, because those actually take time to beat. All right, you wouldn't.
Okay. Anyways, for starters, I would like a platinum equivalent Uh, something where you get all the achievements in a game. You get like a badge or something on your profile or whatever. I do like the rare stuff, but I mean, I think the big thing for me was just the platinum, and DLC being separated. I think PlayStation does it right there. However, I have no belief in Microsoft ever changing it. I've heard so many times from back in 2014, 2015, 2016, people big, like high up in the Xbox chain, be like, we're going to do something. And then it never materializes because priorities shift.
Yep.
So, and I won't believe it until I literally see it on my console. Because I don't think achievements at this point right now are a priority for Xbox in any way, shape, or form. And they won't change it or make it better until they determine it is. So there are things they could do, but honestly, this hurts me to say, I just think they don't care. So
See, Rand, I talked about this with Jez on this week's episode of Checkpoint as well, and I sadly agree. I don't think it's a priority at all, and realistically, their priority right now is growing the user base of Xbox. They're trying to get more people invested, and they're looking at the Switch. The Switch is killing it every single month, despite it being weak, despite it being the weakest console by far. It's the weakest console, has the worst netcode, has the worst online offerings, and has no achievement system, and kills it. So Xbox is probably looking at that and saying, clearly, achievements are not a driver to pull people into the Xbox ecosystem. For legacy fans like you and I who experienced when achievements were new and it was this just groundbreaking, game-changing way to reward your playtime, that's important to us. But for a lot of people, I just don't think they care. And I think Xbox is kind of in tune with that, and they're in this weird position where they can't just come out and tell their audience, most people don't care. Sorry. I know you care, Rand, and I know people like Miles care, but most people don't care, so sorry. We're not doing it right now. They can't come out and say that. That does not win any favor from anyone.
I think any sort of thing that's like, how does this help us reach 3 billion gamers?
Yes.
Right? I think
how does achievements do that?
Yeah, so I think when you present that question, now there are ways I could position it and be like, well, this is how, because you make the people that you do get more loyal, you get them more invested, they spend more money, etc., etc., etc. But I think in the grand scheme of things, they look at it and they're like, yeah, but that's not going to help us reach 3 billion gamers. So that's on the back burner. I mean, I know they have tried to change things. Like, I know this for a fact. It's just that priorities always shift. And the achievement thing is just something that's like, yeah, it's not really important right now. Other things are more important. So as much as I would love there to be changes, I don't believe there will be. So it's a sad fact that I think is, or at least my opinion on it. So
it hurts. And a couple like small tweaks that I would like to see that I think would do a lot for people. I totally agree that having some sort of platinum equivalent would be huge. What I want to see, what would be really exciting, is if they gave us, you know how they have the badges on your profile? I would love it that if you got like the platinum equivalent for Xbox, that it was a badge. You got this unique badge that's like, boom, here's a cool looking logo that means I got all the achievements in Elden Ring, for example, and that's on my profile. And if they coupled that with, let's say, I'll use Elden Ring again. Let's say if you get all the achievements in Elden Ring, you get a unique Elden Ring dynamic theme for your dashboard. Like something like that. Like even if it's not changing fundamentally how achievements work, but giving you like a tangible reward and a tangible reason to get excited.
They used to do that on the 360 where some achievements would unlock like avatar clothing or whatever.
Left 4 Dead 2, you would get the t-shirts and the shoes and the swag for your, and the avatar thing. God, they rebranded that, refreshed that, and then just let it die. Re-released it, and then those are out in the world and they don't mean a damn thing.
Nope. And it's sort of a shame because I spent a lot of time with the Avatar stuff, and I know people that really liked it. But like, I sort of feel like the current dashboard iteration is essentially like, because there's no place for it to even see your avatar. I think you got to go pretty deep into the menus to see it, and there's really no way to see other people's avatars, so it's died. So
it hurts. It's
achievements, man.
It's probably especially difficult because it's a lot of work at this point to go in and refresh the system. And like you said, they have to decide whether or not they want to allocate a team to really go in and refresh what that means and how that works. And I hope it comes at some point once, once the games are out, once Game Pass is rolling, once xCloud's going, once all of these other priorities for them, realistically, like if we're being objective, those are the priorities for them. Once those are in place, I hope they can then start to reevaluate. Yeah, okay, we have all these people in the ecosystem. We have people excited about it. All right, now let's iterate on what the features that the community wants. And as Jez and I have just been famously saying, we'll just have to wait and see, Rand. We'll just have to wait and see.
I think the waiting on this is going to be really long. So
Yep.
if it ever happens, what are some other desires that people want, Miles?
All right, so let's get some more super chats here. We got
we got super
Wolf
chats. Yes.
Assassin, who says, been replaying Quantum Break and Rise, Son of Rome lately. What do we have to say to Crytek and Remedy to make sequels? Underrated Xbox One. Yeah, Quantum Break kind of falls into the same camp as Sunset Overdrive, where it was a really good game, but Xbox One had so much negative energy around it that no one cared, sadly.
Yeah, and Remedy has a lot of their own projects.
A lot
they're working on.
We just
Quantum
talked
Break
about
is an IP that Microsoft owns, and I sort of think that relationship soured during the making of Quantum Break. And I don't necessarily think Remedy wants to work like that again with Xbox. So they're doing their own things with their own IPs. I think Quantum Break is just something that's just gonna, I'm sorry. Like, at least we get Alan Wake 2. It's taken a while to get to Alan Wake 2, but we're gonna get it. And yeah, it's a shame. As for Rise, there's one game from the Xbox One gen that I really deeply wish got a sequel because I feel it could have been so much better, was Rise.
Yeah.
Like the development was super troubled because it started off as like a Kinect game, a 360 game, and then they made the transition to an Xbox One launch title, but still sort of Kinect features. And I feel like if you just said, okay, make the game here, like if it was, the game was just the sequel, like you took what worked in Rise 1 and then you kind of fleshed it out for Rise 2. People talk about like the improvements from Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2, right? Where I thought Uncharted 1 wasn't a very good game, but Uncharted 2 was, because they learned what people liked and what worked. And I think there's a good game underneath. I mean, last time I looked on Metacritic, Miles, Rise is a 60. I don't think it's a 60 personally.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It's clear that it wasn't, I don't want to say finished. That seems maybe a little unfair, but there are like 6 enemy models in the entire game. There are areas that feel kind of odd and out of place. But like you said, the core idea of Rise and the core gameplay, incredible. The game looked so beautiful. That was one of the most impressive launch titles between Xbox One and PS4. Like, it looks so damn good.
It still holds up pretty well today, but just for Microsoft to kind of get people to work with them during the Xbox One gen, they sort of were like, you can keep the IP, right? So Crytek kept the IP, and Microsoft's like, let's do a sequel, and I heard they wanted to, but they couldn't come to negotiations, like they couldn't reach an agreement, so we never saw Rise 2. But there's been rumors that Rise 2 might be a thing, that Crytek might be exploring it, because there were some leaks surrounding some of the upcoming games that Crytek might be doing. So maybe we do see a Rise 2 that's like multi-platform in the future.
Yeah, kind of like Alan Wake. I mean, we look at other weird announcements recently. Lords of the Fallen 2 coming almost 10 years later. Like, that is not a game.
Really been that long? Has it really been 10 years?
I think it was 2014. I think it's really almost been 10.
Was that one of the first like Souls-like games that kind of
that was one of the first like big budget Souls-likes that came out, and it was kind of obviously mirroring the success of Dark Souls. And yeah, I know people liked it overall. Didn't really set the world on fire. So when I saw that announcement earlier this week, I was like, oh, okay, well, let's go.
Was that from the same people who made The Surge, or is this a different company?
Maybe. It could be Focus. Focus did Surge, and I'm not sure if Focus did Lords of the Fallen, but that was an interesting one that I was not expecting. So I wouldn't count a sequel for Rise out as a possibility, but I don't know that it's actively in development or anything like that. All right, Code Dan asks, what's our expectations with, quote, true next-gen games coming? Will this separate Xbox from the PlayStation early on? All right, so I guess if I'm interpreting this question, it's what are you expecting from Xbox's next-gen only games, and do you think they will have some sort of differentiation between what PlayStation is offering? So let's Hellblade as a prime example.
I don't know what to expect, Miles. You know, like we're in this cross-gen thing, and I still think games look pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, and they got that sweet frame rate, 60 frames.
Oh,
Give it to me.
we find
120
the
frames
dirty
sometimes. Oh
console
yeah,
heathens finally get 60 FPS.
yeah. But I don't know what to really expect, and I don't know how to be differentiated from PlayStation. Like I expect Hellblade 2. I mean, we've seen it. It looks incredible. I hope it's a big jump in quality from the first game, which I adored. Like, hope the combat's a lot better and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what a next gen game looks like, or next gen only. So that's an interesting question. I guess we'll find out this year because I think Redfall's next gen only, Starfield's next gen only,
Yep, we're
Forza
gonna start.
Motorsport next gen only. Even though they're testing it on the Xbox One, but who knows if they launch that version. And then Hellblade, Avowed, Contraband, all these games are next gen only. So I guess we'll find out soon enough. But honestly, I don't know what to expect. Frankly,
We're fast approaching the point where we will start seeing a bunch of next gen only games. A lot of the biggest third party games we're seeing announced. Alan Wake 2, we recently talked about. That's next gen only as well. So we're getting to that point where the cross gen support is dwindling away, and people are going to be able to lean into the features.
and you love to see it.
What I want to see, Rand, is remember when Xbox was talking about Xbox Velocity architecture and being able to utilize your
and
storage
RDNA 2, Miles?
as
RDNA 2?
virtual RAM, essentially? Like, I want to see those features rolled out because the promise there is that when we're playing an open world game, if you're able to take RDNA 2, you're able to use super resolution, and you're able to incorporate Xbox Velocity architecture, we should be able to have really incredible draw distance. And we shouldn't have to worry about texture pop in. We should be able to, really have these sprawling, immersive open world experiences, but we haven't seen any of that yet. So, like you said, we're going to start seeing some of those, being Starfield, being Redfall, but we know those have been in development for quite some time. So I'm personally not really expecting Starfield to be a huge showcase for like the raw tech of next gen, because it isn't even their brand new engine, which they're saving for the rollout of Elder Scrolls. This is an iterated version of their past engine. So for me, I'm personally not expecting it to just come out of the gate and be an absolute mind-blowing visual showcase. But I am hoping that it starts to give us a glimpse into what the future beyond that will look like. What do you think is the first game from Xbox that's going to release and really be that next gen showcase? Is it Hellblade 2? Do you think that's going to be like,
Yeah, I think so.
damn, this is what you can expect?
Yeah.
I agree.
Hellblade 2 is like, yeah.
I think that's going to be...
I can't wait for that game.
That's probably my most anticipated game right now. Hellblade 2. Has been for a long time. I mean, Elden Ring. Elden Ring aside, it's been my most anticipated game for a long time. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. All right, Harjeet Chani. This has probably already been claimed, but generous enough, legendary enough to drop a code for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin in the chat. Global even. What a... Harjeet just out here supporting the show, giving away free games. Last three episodes, this dude has been in here giving out free games, and that is amazing.
You love to see it.
You love to see it.
He's
so Harjeet, round of applause for that legend. Round of applause for the almost 400 people hanging with us on this fine Saturday. If you are digging this show, smash that like button. If you are new to the show, we are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on youtube.com/Windows Central Gaming.
Miles, you never said how much you appreciated the fact that I beat Elden Ring. Got all the achievements and stuff, and
I am
how your boy was like, I don't know about Elden Ring to like Elden Ring's game of the year.
Yeah, that means a lot to me because we were talking about it ahead of launch, and I saw, I'm not to paint with the wide brush, but I saw a lot of Xbox people being like, on Elden Ring, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Colt Eastwood, you, several other people, I would say bigger people in the Xbox YouTuber community were like, I'm on Elden Ring, and every single one of them who played it was like, all right, yeah, I get it. This game is game of the year for sure. So I am proud of you. I'm proud you got all the achievements. I'm glad you dug it. And more importantly, I'm glad From Software came out with a game that managed to live up to the hype. Because even me, even as a big From Software fan, I wasn't expecting Elden Ring to be as good as it was. Like deep down, I was a little concerned that it wouldn't be as good as Dark Souls 3. Because for me, before that, Dark Souls 3 was the perfect game. Like Dark Souls 3, one of my favorite I would say it's probably my favorite RPG ever. I love Dark Souls 3. And so I was worried deep down that Elden Ring wouldn't be that for me and it was going to hurt me. And then I played it and I was like, oh shit, okay. From Software, time and time again, somehow elevates themselves. So I'm glad you dug it. I'm glad. I know there's some controversy with you getting all the achievements, Rand, though. Wasn't there?
Yeah. I guess me, like,
You beat it too fast. You're too good at the game.
Too fast, you save scummed or whatever. I didn't know that was a big deal. It's like you got to play through another 2 times to see just like an extra 5-second ending. It's like, no, I'm gonna get them all right now. So never mind.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fun conversations about how you should play Elden Ring.
I wonder how Phil's playing Elden Ring. I know he's playing in co-op. You think he's dual wielding, katanas, going for some bleed build up, or is he a sorcerer? Like, how do you think Phil's going about Elden Ring?
I'm gonna predict that Phil's a classic sword and board player. We know Phil Spencer is a From Software fan, so I imagine he's familiar with Dark Souls, and I imagine he's going with that comfort food. He's going medium sword, shield. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Binyabik with a super chat says, it's sad when some of the largest Reach community members are always so dismissive about Japan or Japanese games. Use Reach for positive change like Miles. Binyabik, I think he's calling you out, Rand.
Hey, I did say that I want my JRPG bros on Xbox to get what they want.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm on the same page with you with Banjo. Banjo, for me, not a beloved title per se. That being said, I see how passionate people are about Banjo, and that gets me excited about the idea of a new Banjo because I would love to see all the energy and because when Banjo was announced for Smash, that was when I knew that Banjo is a humongous deal to so many people because the energy surrounding that reveal was just, it was infectious. Even for me, who's not a huge Banjo fan, like I was excited. I was giddy about Banjo coming to Smash, and that's why I love those kind of announcements because you can buy into it even if it isn't your thing. And I think that's what happened with Elden Ring as well. A lot of people were just like really excited about it, and people like yourself who are kind of about it bought into it and then got excited about it too. And it was this big cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Burke Andy says, the weekend can't start better than listening to the man with the million and my man, the Domp. Love y'all. Keep doing God's work. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
One more from Binyabik. Not just JRPGs skip Xbox. Visual novels, fighting games. Sony owns Evo, even more synergy. Lots of other small indie Japanese games. Yeah, it's definitely not just JRPGs. It's definitely a wide net. Fighting games especially, a lot of people point to that. And again, I am hopeful about the future of Japanese games on Xbox. I believe there are good people in place who are passionate about Japanese games. Once this, once Ghostwire, or not Ghostwire, once Tango starts putting out Xbox games, and once this Kojima Xbox game comes out, I think the biggest glowing praise that Xbox can get is if this Kojima game comes out, reviews incredibly well, and then Kojima says, yo, I had an awesome experience working with Xbox. Like if all of those things happen, that is going to be humongous for Xbox in Japan.
Yeah. I 100% agree. What was I going to say? The fighting game thing. Another genre that's indirectly sort of blocked by PlayStation because of their Street Fighter V exclusivity last gen.
That one hurt me. That exclusive hurt me a
Because
little
at that
bit.
point, you don't got Street Fighter 5. Why are we putting fighting games on Xbox? So
Yeah, that
see,
one hurt.
Sony's a little ruthless when it comes to this stuff, Miles.
Yeah, they're out there making some big power plays, and yeah, it's important to not downplay that because they do make some strategic
So
exclusive deals.
I want a prediction from you right now.
Hit
Street
me,
Fighter 6.
multiplat.
They're gonna talk more about it in June. Coming to Xbox, or has PlayStation got the exclusivity on it again?
I think the reason they didn't announce platforms out of the gate is they wanted some kind of bidding war.
Ooh, they want a bidding war. Interesting.
That's my thought. And we saw what happened to Xbox last time around. And I don't think there's a world where it's an Xbox exclusive because of the whole Evo association. But I think Xbox is going to be knocking on Capcom's door to ensure that Street Fighter 6 comes
there
to.
was the leak that it was supposed to be coming to all the consoles, but who knows? So do you feel the same about Kingdom Hearts 4? No consoles announced? You think?
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily the same for King. I think the reason we didn't see consoles announced was because it's just early with Kingdom Hearts 4.
It's like 10 years from now or whatever.
I don't think it's 10 years, but
who knows what the consoles will be called
with Kingdom Hearts 3 and with Square Enix kind of working really closely with Xbox and specifically Xbox Game Pass. Square's happy about the money that they get from Xbox Game Pass. And they've put a lot, like for all the Final Fantasy were in there. Kingdom Hearts was in there. Yakuza's not Square, but clearly Square has had some success in Game Pass. So I don't think that Kingdom Hearts will be an exclusive either. I would be a little surprised if at this point Kingdom Hearts 4 is exclusive. Not saying it's impossible. I would just personally be surprised.
Okay. I'll remember this prediction about these, okay?
Okay. You can remember them. What's your do you think they're going to be money-hatted?
Oh man.
You think both?
I sort of feel like Street Fighter 6 is going to be money-hatted, yeah. But I mean, I hope to be wrong cuz I would like the game to be everywhere, but
because what bums me out about if you look at the comparison between Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 5, there was way more excitement and energy surrounding Street Fighter 4. And there was a way longer tail for Street Fighter 4 than there was for Street Fighter 5. And again, as much as we want the exclusives, if you look at Mortal Kombat blew Street Fighter away in terms of sales. Like blew it away. Because it was multi-plat, because everyone could play it. You could play it on Switch, for God's sakes. Like, they went all in to make sure anyone could play Mortal Kombat, and there was all this cool energy surrounding it. And that's any successful multiplayer game really, in a lot of cases, needs that. So, again, it could be exclusive. I'm definitely not going to say it's impossible for it to be an exclusive. I just would be disappointed again, because I know what that's going to mean for the overall reach and energy of it. But if it's PC and PlayStation, for example, maybe it'll have more kind of energy out of the gate. But if it is a dedicated PlayStation exclusive to the console, I'd be a little bummed. I'm not going to lie. All right, Rand, a few more community desires we got to touch on here. How do you feel about the Xbox dashboard? Because Jez Corden, my buddy, your co-host, wrote an article that directly brought up a lot of the concerns from Xbox fans about the current dashboard, a lot of the complaints, a lot of the criticisms, and basically posed the question, does Xbox need a new dashboard? So I'll pose two questions to you. One, does it need it? And again, like the achievement system, is this even a priority for Xbox at all right now?
Let's see. Does it need it? I'm going to go with no, it doesn't. But sometimes I just like my stuff to kind of get an overhaul. Little fresh coat of paint, make it look nice. I sort of feel like Microsoft has kind of come to an agreement, or at least a realization, that this is the dashboard they like, because we went through many variations on the 360, many variations on the Xbox One, and I feel like they sort of found the one that they want to iterate on. And it's been this one for a few years now, right? And so it doesn't really seem like they're in too much of a hurry to change how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
My big thing is I hate the fact whenever I start up a game, I get the flicker because it needs to go to HDR or 120 frames, so it blacks out and comes back. That gets a little bit annoying. I guess so with the advent of dynamic themes, it's those look cool, but they're blocked because of so many of the big blocky blocks of the content blocks. So it's like you don't really see a lot of the dynamic background because of all the stuff there. I I think it works. I mean, you have your 5 most played games, you got your my games and apps there, and you know, and I think everything's right there. So, I mean, the question is like, how much are you like looking at the dashboard to really matter? Like, don't you get on Xbox and just fire up a game and play? You're not really looking at the dashboard. Um,
Yeah,
so
I would say for me personally, I don't think it's a huge priority. I don't think there are a lot of glaring issues with the dashboard from a UI perspective when you look at it, but I think they could solve so many of the complaints of the community if they just added the option to adjust the scale of the tiles. If you,
yeah, yeah.
if you could just shrink the tiles down on that home page, that I think that is really where 90% of the criticisms come from. Is they say it looks cluttered, they say the dynamic background is overshadowed by these tiles. Just give us a slider to adjust that size and boom. I really think that would really eliminate most of the complaints regarding that dashboard. There are other features. I mean, obviously the game DVR is one that constantly gets brought up, and that's just a unfortunate situation right now.
I mean, they almost got rid of Twitter sharing.
They were just
we're getting rid of Twitter sharing, and then people complained, and they're like, "Oh, we're bringing it back." It's like, why were you wanting to get rid of it in the first place? You know, like your only big improvement on your controller was your share button, and you weren't going to be able to share things. Xbox. Sometimes you make me wonder.
So they must have data that suggests somewhere that, as much as we're in tune with the community and in tune with the Xbox ecosystem, they must have data that says like, only X% of people are using the Twitter share feature. Do we need it? And people's like, let's just get rid of it and see what happens. See if people.
Everybody's
complain.
got mobile phones, right? We can just push the notifications there, and people can post their own stuff.
Use your Xbox app. It feels like a Nintendo move, I gotta say. Oh, you want to voice chat? Use your app. Oh, you want to share on Twitter? Use your phone. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
What are some of their big complaints people have with the dashboard? Is it really just like the blocks?
I mean, if you guys are watching live, drop them in there. The ones I see are ads. That it looks cluttered, and the size of the blocks block the dynamic backgrounds.
I mean, the ads are kind of never going to go away.
No,
so like,
I mean, we're going to be getting more ads. We're going to in the new in Grand Theft Auto 6. There's going to be in-game Taco Bells, y'all. Get ready for that world. Exclusive Taco Bell on your Xbox platform. Are you ready for that world? For those who don't know, context real quick. A report came out that said Microsoft is experimenting with publishers to come up with ways to add ads within their games. They want a platform for adding ads inside of video games. So
inside of the free-to-play games.
Inside of free-to-play games. So yes, that is where that's coming from. And so yes, the ads on the dashboard, I don't think those are going away. And I think we're going to be getting some more ads.
Eventually.
But it is kind of annoying. But I guess I'll ask the audience here, do you care about it when it's in movies? When you're watching Superman versus Batman and you see a Jeep, when they go to the bar and you get a panning shot of the bar and they have Jack Daniels on display in the bar, do those things bother you? Because I imagine that's kind of what they're going to be doing when it comes to in-game ads for this, is they're trying to basically mirror the product placement type stuff of film. And maybe you'll have a billboard within the game, and the billboard will have an ad for Geico Insurance or whatever.
Yeah, but the funny thing is they've been doing this forever, though. So, I mean, this isn't anything new, right? Product placement in games. I remember, like, Energizer batteries and Alan Wake, Monster energy drinks and Death Stranding. Like, there's been product placement for a lot of stuff, so... The question though, if it's free to play games, Halo, what do you advertise in Halo? Because it's set in the future. Like, you ain't gonna come up across some billboard that's talking about Mountain Dew and Halo Infinite, right?
Oh, you are. What I want to see is a Doritos 3D logo. Remember when they advertised Doritos 3D as like this futuristic chip?
Oh, what about if you had an ad for Manscaped and it was like, use the lawnmower 4000 to be as smooth as a baby's ass, like Master Cheeks, you know?
Yeah, they're if they have fun with it, whatever. Ads, they're annoying. I get it. But really, I think what this is about is Xbox trying to make their own platform for free to play games more appealing to publishers who want to jam pack their games with that kind of stuff.
So I
Um,
wonder if this is also Microsoft basically admitting or announcing that they expect the future of gaming to be very much free to play, right? Because if you're building an ad platform to do this and trying that stuff out, then they probably expect there to be a lot more free to play games to come in the future, to the point where they need an ad platform for it, right?
I agree. Yeah, there's clearly going to be more players getting into the space with free to play games, and it's been a mixed bag, really, from what we've seen. We've seen free to play games come out and explode. We've seen free to play games come out and get shut down in 6 months. So it is really fascinating, but clearly there are publishers interested in that space, and Xbox and Microsoft are trying to come up with ways to make it enticing to lean into the Xbox ecosystem, I guess. But yeah,
I even read the article, and I think they said Microsoft wasn't even going to take a cut of any of this.
yeah,
So
they just want the platform to exist to make it more appealing for publishers. Is really what this is about. So it's boring business stuff, and hopefully it's not too intrusive.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
how NBA 2K had videos of ads before you could play a game. Like, nobody wants that stuff.
No, yeah, and what's going to happen is people are going to experiment with this. They're going to come out of the gate, try something egregious, get blasted for it, and then backpedal, and then they'll try to find that happy medium where it works, or work kind of like the NFT push we've seen. Is people are going to keep dumping this until they get to a point where they can do it without people getting up in arms about it, and that's going to be it's not that anyone's happy; it's that people aren't actively yelling about it. That's the middle ground they're going for. All right, Rand, the last big complaint is going to transition into our final topic of today's show. The biggest complaint amongst the Xbox community is, where are the games and where is the gameplay?
Really? Xbox has no games?
We went from Xbox has games last year back to Xbox has no games this year. So it hasn't completely gone away. I don't think it's fair to say Xbox has no games, obviously. I'm talking about first-party stuff specifically.
Yes.
And I will context this by saying that I personally don't always think that first-party games exclusively are the ultimate end-all be-all when it comes to a platform's success. But Xbox has some gaps for the year of our Lord 2022.
Yeah.
So what I want to do now, Rand, is I want to dive into our Summer Game Fest prediction, because we talked about acquisition season and how that's permeated the conversations here. But I am hereby declaring the end of acquisition season. Acquisition season is dead, and now it's prediction season, baby. Let's go. We're about a month and a half out from the biggest game announcements of the year, so we are transitioning from acquisitions to game predictions all in. So, Rand, I'm going to set this up in 2 specific questions for you. First question, what do you want to see from Xbox this year?
What do I want to see from Xbox?
I say emphasize want, not what you realistically think.
I want to see release dates. And like, my biggest criticism of Xbox is and this is going back to the Xbox One gen, and how probably even the 360 gen, is that they tend to forget about the first 9 months of the year, right?
Just
It's
barren wasteland.
It's like January to August. This doesn't exist to Xbox. It's like everything starts in September. So my biggest thing is I want to see solid release windows, not only for the games that we expect coming this year, but I want to see the 2023 lineup. I want to see what you got coming January, February, March. I want to see what you got coming April, May, June. I want to see what you got June, July, August, and September, October, November. I want the 2023 lineup basically to be revealed, and I want to see you basically remember that people want a game in March. Dagnabbit.
So do you want the Marvel roadmap? Is that your hope for Xbox? They come out and just put the splash screen with months and then all of these games. Is that the dream?
I mean, you asked me what my personal opinion. That's
No,
what I
I
want
know.
because like I want them to be like, well, yeah, the Marvel thing would be cool, but like I want to like tune in and be like Hellblade, you know, whatever quarter one, 2023, Avowed 2023, Contraband 2023, and if they're certain about certain time frames, like because we went through 2020 when they showed off a whole bunch of CGI stuff and they had no dates for anything, which they had to do because they needed to show they got games, right? Um, so and we've been talking about like their desire to have games, a lot of games every single year, like a
Mm-hmm.
game a quarter. I mean, Phil was recently on Xbox Air and he talked I talked a little bit about that, about how they want to have games spread out more throughout the year, and that's been my biggest criticism is like I understand games take a while to make. I understand a lot of the studios Microsoft acquired already had pre-existing agreements and they were working on titles that they had to, finish out the contracts on. So before they could jump over, like I understand, the pandemic impacted the industry greatly. So
Yep.
the timetables got shifted backwards, maybe a year for a lot of stuff. But you know, it's like it's time now, right? It's like your vision of what you want to do. Uh, sh- 2023 should be the year where you're at this E3. You should be proudly saying, you know, we got all these games coming, and look at our lineup for next year, right? We even though we got Starfield is going to be the big game for this fall. Once that hits, it's nonstop, amusement park ride because you go from Redfall to Forza Motorsport to Starfield to Hellblade to Avowed to Contraband to Diablo 4 to Overwatch 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just this is where you want to play because this is going to be nonstop. And this is why you need Xbox Game Pass because there's always going to be something for you, right? Like that's what I want to see from them as I want to see the roadmap essentially. I want to know what's coming in 2023. And then the other thing I want to see, show me some freaking gameplay. I want to see gameplay. I understand first time showing off some CGI trailer. It doesn't really excite me too much, but I want to see Starfield. I want to see Redfall. I want to see Hellblade 2. And I want to see Hellblade 2 in combat scenarios, not like walking from the camera. I want to see Avowed gameplay, even though I have seen Avowed gameplay. Thanks, Jez. I want to see Contraband. I want to see all these, I want to see Perfect Dark. I want to see Fable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm primed and ready for some gameplay, Miles. That's what I want.
Let's go. That's what everyone wants. That is how they're going to win a lot of favor this year is if they can give us gameplay. That's what I want. Speaking on what I want before we dive into what I expect, I want to see Xbox come out of the gate and I want to see Xbox show gameplay for Fable. I want to see an update for Everwild because according to the community right now, Everwild is just in a state of disarray. It's a disaster. It's going to get canceled. So I need them to come out and show something gameplay-wise to say that, here, the game is coming along. We have stuff that we can show for it. Maybe it's not the final gameplay loop per se, but here is a taste of what this world looks like. Even if it is just in-engine showing some of the environments. Let me see what the game is. Let me get excited about it. Same with Fable. Again, Xbox was in a tough position where they had to announce games far out. They had to announce games in pre-production before they were in officially production. But now it's been a couple years, and I have to imagine, or I hope, I hope most of these games are in active production, and we can start seeing glimpses of them. Avowed, again, another big one that I want to see. I want to see what Obsidian's fantasy take on this is, because I think they killed it with The Outer Worlds. Love that game. Super excited about the sequel. And I want to see their take on the high fantasy as well. So I want to see what that looks like. I want to start seeing Unreal Engine 5 Xbox games. Now that we know people have been using it for a little while, I loved what we saw of Hellblade, but it was more of just a little slice of kind of setting the tone of this world more than anything else. But yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with you, Rand. I want to see more gameplay. And again, they get in a lot of trouble for CG only. And I don't have a problem with CG for reveals, but at a certain point, I want you to start showing me what the game is. Because we've seen them announce a CG trailer, and then the quality of the game is vastly different. In some cases, vastly worse than what the CG trailer was. We saw them come out with Redfall, and according to the devs, the CG trailer of Redfall, despite everyone thinking it's Left 4 Dead, that's not the game at all. So the CG trailer that they used for Redfall didn't do a good job representing what the game was, because everyone just thinks it's the Left 4 Dead clone. And so CG isn't always the most effective. And Redfall is another one that's supposed to come out this summer, Rand, and we haven't seen a second of gameplay for it.
I think it's fall. I think it's October.
Yeah,
I think Vampires. I think you're launching around Halloween time.
And that would be a smart business move. So again, I hope we see that. Now we got to transition into what you think we'll actually see. What are the games or announcements that you're realistically expecting from Xbox this summer?
The thing is, they got so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was hearing through the grapevine that almost all their studios have submitted something.
Oh.
Multiple somethings from multiple studios as well. But they always do, not always, but some stuff's going to get cut because maybe Xbox wants to have another show at the end of the year, XO or something. There's even rumors that people have been telling me that like Xbox is going to have their own show in June, the Summerfest, the game showcase. And then Bethesda might have their own one in September, which I don't really think is the way to go about it. You've made waves because you were like, Xbox needs their own directs, right? Like, which I agree with you, especially when you have more games, that you're launching throughout the year. You definitely do. So what do I expect? Well, we'll start small, okay? I expect Forza Horizon's 5 first DLC to be revealed and a shadow drop, or shadow drop close to the date, right? So I think you can chalk that one up. I expect there to be something with Halo Infinite, showcasing something for the next season coming up. I think that's a fair guess. I think we'll see Contraband from Xbox Global Publishing, because I believe that game is launching next year, so time to show it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Starfield. Well, let me break it up. So the Global Publishing will have that game. As for Xbox Game Studios, I want to say Hellblade 2 is going to be there, but then like it was just at the Game Awards, so I'm not sure. But then it's like, well, if it's coming next year, you better be. But Avowed's going to be there 100% because it was supposed to be there last year, and they decided to go with Outer Worlds 2 instead.
Mm-hmm.
So Avowed will be there. Contraband will be there. Forza Motorsport will be there. Forza Horizon 5 will be there with the DLC. Obsidian might even be there with the Josh Sawyer's game, which is rumored to be coming out this year, Pentiment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what else. Like Bethesda, Starfield's going to get a presentation. Redfall will get a gameplay trailer. Jez has also been saying that Bethesda is going to do a lot of the heavy marketing this year for Xbox. And and once Starfield and Redfall come out, we don't know what else Bethesda has under wraps, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we might see Indiana Jones from Machine Games. I think it's time. Maybe we even get a CGI announcement from what id Software is working on. Because it's been a couple years since they finished Doom Eternal. So maybe those two go along with it. There's a lot of things. Compulsion's game, I think, gets finally revealed. Maybe even some from Perfect Dark. Maybe like the thing in Exile, like they're working on Project Cope. Like there's so many things, and it's just I need to sit down and like write everything out and then pick and choose what I think is going to be at the show. I know you want Fable, but I have this distinct feeling Fable's not going to be there. But yeah, there's so much that could be there.
Exactly.
In comparison to years where it was like I knew exactly what was going to be there because these were the only things that could be there. This year, I'm looking at it like there's a vast smorgasbord of things.
Oh, good.
Look at that! Look at that word you used
smorgasbord
of things that could be there, and it's like an hour and a half show, and they're gonna combine it with like updates for games as a service stuff like Halo and Forza and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it kind of lessens it. But then it's like they also do stuff with like indie games and third parties like they did last year. So it's like it's not just all going to be first party, even though maybe you could probably get away with it being all first party. So it's like you're going to have to pick and choose. So I'm excited to finally sit down after they announce this showcase and tell us when it is, like to really kind of like, okay, this is going to be there, this is going to be there, this is going to be there, because there's so much that can be, Miles. And that's the exciting thing. There's so much that can be, because in other years, it was just so much that couldn't be, you know? So
yes, it is exciting when you look, because we know a lot about what the future of Xbox looks like, but there are a lot of unknowns. We know Microsoft has a lot of teams that aren't, that don't have anything necessarily announced officially, but we have to imagine they've been working on something for the last few years. So we're in a situation where in the past, Microsoft would have to show you everything possible that they were working on. They had to, because they had to, correct the narrative that they quote unquote have no games. Now they're in a situation where they don't. And I kind of hope they don't show everything in one showcase, because the reason I talked about the direct idea is because they have so many teams and so many games happening simultaneously that their showcases are going to start being like 5 hours long. If we're looking at, if Activision Blizzard goes through, and there's Bethesda, and there's Xbox Game Studios, and there's Xbox Game Studios Publishing. We have like Brass Lion Entertainment, that codename project. We have Contraband. We have all these other projects that aren't
Project
officially
Dragon from Ion Interactive.
Yeah, Project Dragon. Not to mention, there will be third-party stuff. There is always third-party stuff. With Activision Blizzard being on the table, even if the deal doesn't go through, I am pretty confident they're going to lean into that. Because
no.
You don't think there would be any Activision Blizzard there?
Maybe Bethesda stuff, but like the new Call of Duty, I believe has.
I'm not saying Call
marketing.
of Duty. I'm not
well,
saying
that's the
Call
only
of
thing
Duty.
from Activision. This is going to potentially be there. I'm
saying Activision Blizzard.
So you think Overwatch 2 and Diablo will be there?
I could definitely see Xbox leaning into that with this deal being on the table and with this potentially being a part of their future. I don't imagine.
Well, I mean, Diablo 2 was at last year's show, so I guess it's certainly possible.
It's more than possible. I would say it's likely.
Xbox is not supposed to be able to tell Activision what to do.
They're not telling them. They're just now. They're just business partners. It's
okay. Well, Call of Duty won't be there. I think we would both agree on that, right?
Yeah, I think that still has the PlayStation marketing deal for a couple years. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, supposedly.
Yeah. So I agree that it is exciting. There are a lot of possibilities. And I am expecting at least a decent spread of gameplay for stuff in the nearish future.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
What would disappoint you? What would disappoint you in the sense like a game not showing up that you thought would be there, or something you didn't get from Microsoft? Like, what would say we're watching it and after the show you're disappointed? Like, what would disappoint you?
If they don't give us any gameplay for anything they've previously announced.
So you're at the point now where it's like, I need to see the gameplay, or else I don't care. Like, it's like we're past this. If you don't show me the gameplay, then it's a disappointment.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not expecting to show gameplay for everything, but if we have a showcase that comes and goes and we don't get new gameplay for first-party games, yeah, that's going to be a problem. People are already complaining about it and have been complaining about it for a long time. So if you're going to come out now, and you again, Xbox Game Pass leans heavily into the day and date. Day and date first party is a big selling point of Xbox Game Pass. And they're obviously going to be leaning into third party this year because they have to. People are questioning that approach in 2022 because the slate is looking light. And if the slate is looking light in 2023 as well, so I guess I will say this. My two concerns would be if we don't get gameplay, and if 2023... if we don't get a lot of windows for 2023 for stuff that's previously announced, I think I would. So you think
if they show Hellblade, but they don't attach a year to it, that would disappoint Miles?
I think so. At this point,
because if they don't attach a year to it, then it's like not 2023, right?
Yeah, if they show Avowed gameplay, no date. If they show Hellblade gameplay, no date. If they show Fable, no date. Then it's like, okay, well, what does 2023 look like then? Because 2022 wasn't looking that stacked. So are we expecting the same for 2023? But that's kind of where I'm at. What about you? What would disappoint you at the end of this
I mean,
showcase?
same thing you just said. I need gameplay and I need a solid roadmap of stuff coming next year. So if I'm watching that show and the games you mentioned are just like, here's trailer, it looks cool, but then no year, I'll be like,
Yeah, I don't even
yo,
need. I don't need
what's
a
up?
date. I don't need a window. I don't need fall. I need a year though. I do need some. I need a year to look forward to.
Yeah, I'd be like, what's up, Microsoft? Come on.
And again, I don't expect a lot of teams to give us dates until they have a much better idea with just the current state of the industry. It's not unheard of, and I would rather them wait to announce a date than just announce a date arbitrarily and then have it just constantly keep moving back. So I get it. That's why I don't necessarily need hard windows for a lot of the stuff that's further out. Obviously, I want to see what the rest of 2022 and ideally the first half of 2023 looks like with Windows. But beyond that, just give me some years. Give me something to look forward to on the horizon here. Instead of me just saying, "Oh, we'll have to wait and see," because people are only willing to wait for so long before they start getting antsy. And I think it's fair to say that a lot of Xbox fans have waited long enough. And I don't know. What do you think that's fair?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair. This is like these 2 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022 have played out exactly like I thought they'd play out because I knew there wasn't going to be a lot.
Yep.
So none of this
transition
is surprising.
to remote work just absolutely destroyed development cycles. There's
none of this was surprising to me at all.
Yeah,
but I always was like 2023, that's going to be the year. That's going to be the basically, and you know what? Xbox has done an incredible job of turning around the brand, positioning itself as really strong in spite of the fact that a lot of their acquired studios haven't put anything out. You know what I mean? Like, and that goes to show you the good job that Phil and the marketing teams have done. I mean, hell, you look at like the sales of the console the past couple months, basically winning Europe or, like doing really well in Europe. Sounds like they're going to have a really strong, March from last month. Like, and this is all based around the fact that they, a lot of their games are further out. I know they just were Metacritic Publisher of the Year, putting out some bangers like Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 and Psychonauts 2 and that stuff. But I think it's been light for the most part. So I think they've done well with the sort of hand that they were given, knowing that a lot of their games were further out. And a lot of people have been anticipating all these. Okay, when are these acquisitions going to bear fruit? Because even Bethesda hasn't bared fruit yet. We haven't gotten a Bethesda game on Xbox. So it's kind of like people expect it to be this year, and then leading into next year is supposed to be like, this is the true power of this battle station. You know what I mean?
And it's important to remember that, obviously, the pandemic completely changed a lot of the timelines and the plans, and a lot of the biggest games that they had were announced before they had to figure out these massive delays. And so that is the reason I think people are now more actively criticizing Xbox for quote unquote releasing stuff too early, is because now in retrospect, if they had known that the COVID was going to happen, they probably wouldn't have revealed some of those games. And again, we always talk about, we don't want crunch. We don't want, the developers to be forced to do certain things. And so I'm of the mindset that we really have to allow them the freedom and time to get it done. But Xbox as a platform, in terms of like satiating fans, I just want them to have something to show. And I think if they can have gameplay to show, that will kind of silence a lot of the, skepticism and criticism we've seen in the last couple months and get people excited again about the future of Xbox. Because I think objectively, if you are a passionate fan of video games, you can look at Xbox right now, you can look at the future of Xbox, and you should be excited. I don't care if you prefer PlayStation or if you prefer Nintendo, you should be excited about what Xbox is bringing to the table. And I think if they can get gameplay out in front of people, I think that will sell more folks on the vision of Xbox's future. All right, couple super chats here. I saw some pronunciation notes here. So Hargeet Chani. So Xbox is always under the gun when it comes to games. How many first-party games do we know about from PlayStation? Nintendo. Does Xbox need 4 to 1, 5 to 1 or more? When's it enough? All right, so I do see this note a lot.
Never enough. It's never enough. I want the world.
So, yeah, I'll pose this to you, Rand. Do you think, because I see this a lot from Xbox fans, that there's this idea that Xbox is held to an unfair standard compared to PlayStation, Nintendo? Do you think there's credence to that, or what's your stance on comparing Xbox's first-party output directly to PlayStation and Nintendo's?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think when people talk about that, it's a lot of whataboutism. It's like when you criticize them for doing something, people will be like, "Well, what about PlayStation?"
And that, yeah, and
It's
that's
like,
just
I'm
used
not
as a
talking
means
about-
to exactly.
I'm not talking about PlayStation. I'm talking about Xbox. So I'm just basing off of like stuff that they've basically talked about directly to the fans, and their goals are. You know, I don't like the fact that they release games in 3 months of the year, and it's always at the end of the year. I've been saying that for years now. I don't like that. I think they should spread their releases out. You know, and they've talked about how they will. And, you know, they've talked about their desire to have a game of course. This isn't like inside baseball stuff. They've literally come out and said it. So I'm just like holding them to what they've said publicly, right? So it doesn't matter what PlayStation's doing or what Nintendo's doing. I'm holding Microsoft's feet to the fire because this is what they've said they're going to do. So it doesn't matter that we don't know what the rest of PlayStation's 2023 looks like or 2022 looks like. That's for PlayStation to figure out and their fans to sort of whatever. I don't care about PlayStation like that. You know what I mean? Does PlayStation and Nintendo get away with some stuff that Xbox doesn't? Yeah, sometimes. I think Nintendo gets away with a lot. I think Nintendo gets away with a lot more than what PlayStation or Xbox does. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I see a lot of the conversations, and people will bring up this, and they'll be like, well, what about Last of Us 2's multiplayer? It's still not ready. It's like, it's always someone criticizes something about Xbox, and then they jump back and they have this criticism about PlayStation. It's like, I don't like that. You know,
Yeah,
I don't care that God of War Ragnarok might be delayed to 2023, and they may not have anything else for the rest of the year or whatever. That's not like. That's not something. Yeah, I care about what Xbox is doing, and I'm going to hold their feet to the fire to the things that they've talked about publicly that I want them to improve upon. And that's what I do. I don't know. Does that make sense, Miles?
That makes sense, and I'm with you. Again, I see that a lot, and sure, yes, we can make those parallels and say, you know, tit for tat. Well, PlayStation's not doing this. Okay, well, Nintendo's not doing this. This year in particular, it's a bad time to compare what Nintendo's first-party output is because it's insanely stacked. The first-party output for Nintendo, go look at a calendar. It is absolutely packed. Like every 2 months, there's a first-party Nintendo game. So in that direct comparison, not the best. But when we're looking at PlayStation versus Xbox, again, I hold Xbox to the standards that they are holding themselves to. Like you touched on, they came out and they had this big, emboldened, impassioned mission statement to ship one major game per quarter. And then the next year, they have like the lightest schedule that they've ever had. And so people were like, okay, why did you just say this? And then have nothing to back that up. Like, I understand those things take time, but it is a weird move, and it's a weird strategy to have that kind of PR, that buzz that says we are doing this, and then when you don't do that, you can't really expect people to just ignore the facts. And again, development right now is tough. The industry is weird. People are still adjusting, and I totally get that, and that's totally fine. But Microsoft made those statements during the pandemic. They made those statements knowing what the future looked like. So it's not unfair to be like, okay, where are these one games per quarter ish? Again, wasn't expecting you to come out of the gate and then really deliver on it immediately, but I'm hoping that the summer-ish window here is their mission statement for that.
Well,
And they can
I
tell us, like, hey, these are the games we're expecting for the next several quarters. I don't think
I,
that's unfair.
I hope it doesn't end up being a pipe dream, like how, when Phil said that the Xbox Scorpio was going to have high-end VR games and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know
People
what I
forget
mean?
about that.
So it's like, that's their mission statement, and they haven't done it yet. So it's like, I'm going to hold you to it until you say it's not happening. Just like people were, you said VR was happening for Scorpio, and then it didn't. And I completely understood why, right? Because then you came out a year later and explained why it wasn't, and I get it. But like, until you come out and say, like, you know what, it was maybe too ambitious and game development's hard, so we can't do it, I'd be like, all right, well, you said this was going to happen, so let's see it happen. And it doesn't matter if PlayStation doesn't do it, because each one has their own business strategies and how things are panning out. So while Nintendo, like, when Nintendo's year last year was pretty sparse, right, Miles? I think it was,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Was it last
Nintendo's
year?
last year was very sparse. Yeah.
But this year, like you said, they got bangers coming out all the time. So it just, that's sometimes the peaks and the valleys of some years are going to be better than others. So,
And that's where a lot of these conversations are coming out. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you and the community here, is because when we put everything in context, it's easier to kind of understand the rationale, the reasoning for why these things happen, the expectations from fans and the community. And again, as long as we're constructive, as long as we're nuanced with our takes on this, it's fine to be disappointed or have concerns, because there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions, and Microsoft as a company, their goal ultimately is to sell you something, sell you on an idea of something, and that is long term what they want to do. And people right now on the Xbox side are, not feeling that vision. They're not buying into that vision, and so that's why I talk about wanting to see gameplay, because these are things that the community has shouted about for a long, long time, and that would go such a long way in giving people what they want. And as a platform holder, that's the end goal, is giving people what they want so they buy it. And yeah.
you know what I want to sell the people on? I want to
What?
sell the people on hitting that like button for Miles. Okay,
Smash that like button, gamers.
Will Smith that like button. Let's go.
All right, one more for Hargeet. If you want the devs to not deal with crunch, use agile. Be agile. Sorry, you have to actually let the devs determine the release schedule. Don't expect release dates. So yeah, there's been some conflicting thoughts on that idea, Rand, because I kind of agree that at the end of the day, you need to trust your teams. And you need to trust when your teams tell you they need more time. Let's look at Cyberpunk. The team was like, please, for the love of God, we need more time. We need more time on this game. And they're like, all right, well, we're not going to give you more time, but what can you do with 3 months? Hypothetically, if we can give you 3 months, what state can you get this game in? Can you get it in a state good enough to ship? And they're like, oh, because that's all we're giving you. And so that we're in a situation, Cyberpunk launch, people were mad, blah, 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 negative PR. So you really do need to trust the teams. And that sometimes means you wait longer and longer to give those release dates. And I think that's fine. And then you see people come out and say that Phil, top down, needs to come down from his tower and say, you have this timeline, get it done.
Well, even a lot of the articles we've seen from the Undead Labs to the initiative stuff was that Microsoft really doesn't put pressure on them to hit a target. They're very much like, hey, whenever you're ready. And it's been, I mean, all those games that Summer Showcase a couple years ago, they didn't put release windows on any of them outside of like Halo, and then they delayed Halo a year anyways. So I think it's just that I don't think any of the studios are crunching. It's just that I think some of them are just gonna be coming up on the time where they're finished, or at least projected to be finished. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal to have a trailer for Hellblade 2 that says 2023 this year, if Ninja Theory themselves is be like confident that they can hit 2023, right?
Yeah.
I mean, did Todd Howard, like when they did the trailer for Starfield, did they have to put in 11/11/22? I mean, that was a
No.
year and a half before the game came out. They were committed to a release date, but they felt confident that they would be able to hit it. And I mean, hopefully they do, So, um, I don't know. Like, we're asking when we talk about like what I want to see from Xbox is like gameplay, and I want to see, what their release schedule is like for next year and beyond. And if they show Fable and Fable still doesn't have a release date, well, then I know not to expect it next year. So
Yeah.
whatever, I'm perfectly fine with that. But if we go into this summer showcase and it's like the only game that's got 2023 on it's Avowed, and all these other ones don't, I'll be like sitting there with Miles. I'd be like, Miles, what's going on, bro? Like, is this going to be Avowed for next year? Okay, well, I mean, you're trying to sell game. Like, I get it. Devs are humans, but like a lot of people don't care about that. They don't care about how the hot dog's made. They only care about getting that juicy hot
SMH.
dog, right? And Microsoft is a business, so they need games to sell Game Pass and consoles and subscriptions and DLCs. So all these things got to kind of come together, and
And I think they will. I think ultimately they will. And I think that's, again, that we're just at a point where a lot of Xbox fans have grown impatient is really what it is. None of us like to wait for anything. Like when Elden Ring was delayed by like, what was it, a couple of months? I was super bummed. I was ready. I was mentally ready to play that game. And I was really disappointed that it was delayed. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a huge deal. A couple months, got to play it, ended up being incredible. So I think we're just at a point now where Xbox, all of the pieces of the Xbox puzzle, they've been, for a while, they were just scattered haphazardly on the table. They knew that what the end picture was going to be, but they've been spending the last couple of years putting all of these pieces together, bringing everything together. And now we're just like 5 or 6 puzzle pieces away from having this picture, this obvious showcase of what Xbox Game Studios looks like and what that means for first-party games and Xbox Game Pass. And again, I think once that puzzle comes together and we have that showcase that goes, bam, like last year's showcase was so close to that. Last year's showcase was so incredibly good and got me so excited about Xbox. And if they can come out this year and just be like, boom, here is the future. Here is the nearish future. Here's the further out future. Here's a few new games. Here's some cool partner projects that we're working on. Even if not everything has a release date. I'm not expecting everything to have a release date. Even if we have just an idea of when these are coming and when we can expect this kind of big picture to come together, I think all of these concerns, all of these complaints from the community will just be destroyed immediately. And that's what I want as someone who is genuinely excited about the future of Xbox, because I know deep down they have the right people in place, they have the right teams in place, they have big plans for the future, and I just want them to demonstrate that to the world in a way that I don't have to like try to convince people is real. They can just look at this showcase, watch these trailers, and say, "Oh yeah, cool, Xbox is awesome, and I'm excited about it." That's what I want. But
yeah. 100% agree. And it's one of the reasons people complain about it is because, like, you get off a great year and then you're like, oh, it's another 10 months. And I understand, like, there's third-party games to play in between.
Oh, yeah.
The Elden Rings of the
world. There's no shortage of games to play.
But, like, people hyper-focus on the exclusives because it's what separates the consoles from one another. And it's usually, like, those games are going to take full advantage of the console's feature set, right? Normally how those things go. And they're also the ones that are, usually pretty good too, right? And I think that these complaints will go away. I think the reason people are talking about it now is because of the long gap between the next release.
Yeah,
but if you end up in a situation a year from now where Starfield just came out and Redfall and Forza and Hellblade 2's about to come out, and then something's coming out in the summer, and then what's the fall, all those complaints will be just completely fall by the wayside. And then what will be discussion will be like, are these games good, and is Game Pass sustainable?
Yes, the ongoing question.
Yes.
Because yes, all of these people criticizing it have stock invested in the company, and that's why they're talking about it, right, Rand?
That's what it all comes down to. Is Game Pass sustainable? That's the ultimate question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride. I'm just gonna play these games, and not have to spend 60, $70 a pop. And then, if it implodes in a few years, it was a good run while it lasted. But that's not a big concern for me, especially when you talk about Microsoft. Is it sustainable for everyone? Maybe not. Is it sustainable for a company who has all of these different divisions and trillions of dollars? Probably. Probably is, especially when you have people like Phil Spencer come out and tell you, yes, this is sustainable. You don't have to worry. Like, it's funny listening to Phil say, like, you don't even have to worry about it. Like, why do you care? Like, at the end of the day, why do you really care? And that's where I'm at, because I don't really care necessarily about how much they are making per year, as long as that means that their people are getting treated well, their people are getting paid well, and we're getting good games at the end of this. I don't really care how much they're making per Game Pass sub, if I'm being completely honest. And it's weird, and I would say insincere, I think, that a lot of people act like they do.
Mm.
Am I out of line? Am I out of line here, Rand?
Yeah, well, the whole Game Pass sustainable thing was a joke. I didn't actually expect you to talk about it.
I know it is. I know it was a joke, but we see it so often, and it's so exhausting. And again,
yes, especially in light of PlayStation Plus being devastating. Devastating.
I'm just tired, Rand. I'm just so tired. Okay, well, we're getting. Oh my god, we're almost at. Okay, we got to shut this down. We got to wrap this up.
Miles is like, what? We've been going on for how long?
2.5 hours. Time just flying by with the late start. We are ending the show a little bit late, but Rand, for all the amazing people. Wait, did I get all the super chats real quick? Sorry. Make sure I got all these. Okay, yes, super chats are caught up. Huge shout out to everyone who tuned in live, despite us starting late, despite some of the technical difficulties. Rand, huge shout out to you for bearing with me as we fought through these technical difficulties, updated drivers, fixed your audio. For everyone here, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at youtube.com/Rand al Thor 19. Where I do a podcast with Jez Corden, your coworker, Windows Central, every Friday or Saturday, depending on our schedules. And, videos will be resuming real soon because, I feel the need again. I feel the excitement.
Oh,
Rand's a new man. Getting rid of that beard and that hair. I'm a new person now, Miles.
You're
I'm
all
like
freshened
a
up.
phoenix, like rising from the ashes. You know what I mean?
And I know things have been quiet on the Xbox front, but I stress to you that we are coming up on summer, and we know that Xbox has spent a lot of time and energy making sure that they are in the headlines for good reasons. So I have to imagine that this is kind of the lull before they decide to do their which again, I have my issues with personally, but
before the storm.
But yes, I am expecting a massive dump of game news this summer for Xbox. So it won't be too much longer before we have some fun, positive, optimistic things to talk about.
Yay!
And yeah,
I'm always positive. What are you talking about? Randall positive here.
Randall positive here. See, people are saying you're dooming in the chat. They're saying, why does it always have to get depressing when we talk about this, Rand?
What?
Depressing? I think it's.
How many times have I said that I've never been more excited for the future of Xbox than I have right now? You asked me for my opinions on certain things, Miles. I gave you my opinions, the things that I expect. And if I don't get those things, I'll be slightly disappointed. So if that's dooming or whatever, do you want me to go out there and make some tweets talking about how the ad platform that Microsoft's putting out there is disrespecting gamers with a capital G? They don't respect us because they're going to show us ads for Mountain Dew and Doritos. You want me to come out there and talk about like how the initiative losing half of its people is a sign that Phil Spencer and Matt Booty don't know what they're doing and they need to be fired and replaced with other people that know how to run studios? Is this a sort of dooming that people like? What is this? Is this what people want? Should I turn into a PlayStation guy and just rebrand Randall Sony 19? And talk about how PlayStation puts out all these bangers and they're so much better than Xbox in every single way possible. Xbox couldn't possibly compete with PlayStation. Xbox will never put out a God of War type experience or a Horizon Forbidden West experience that was forgotten after 4 days. Oh, wait, did I say that?
I feel like you're subtweeting 100,000 people right now at the same time.
Well, apparently me having slight criticism of Xbox is dooming when I know what literal doom posting and whatever is.
That's why I like having you on here, because we can have some deeper conversations. We can have some, more critical conversations. But you and I are both on the same page. I have also said countless times that I've never been more excited about the future of Xbox, legitimately, in huge ways. And I just want everyone else to be as excited as I am. And I think Xbox objectively has some things that they can do to fix that. And I'm glad we can have those conversations,
You're the best, Miles. Thanks for having me.
You're the best, Rand. Love you. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let everyone here go. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will catch you next week. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.